mics, make sure the mics. Oh, no, it says make sure.
Oh. Okay, I hereby call to order the August 13th, 2025 meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals. To all persons interested in or affected by the actions of the Zoning Board of Appeals, you're hereby notified pursuant to Section 11. We better now? What's going on with that feedback?
You're good.
Okay. Chapter 48 of the General Laws of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and all amendments thereto, that a public hearing of the following appeals will be held on Wednesday, August 13th, 2025, at the time indicated. I'll call to order introduction of board members. To my left, I have Mark Hanson.
Present.
I almost said Denise.
Natalie Pittenger, present.
Manny.
Present. Manny Alves.
Aaron Webb, present.
Paul Bernard, present.
And I'm Herb Bodenseek, acting chair. Let's see. This meeting of the Zoning Board of Appeals is being recorded and broadcast on the town of Barnstable's government access channel in accordance with MGL Chapter 30A, Section 20. I must inquire whether anyone is recording this meeting, and if so, please make their presence known. First order of business is minutes from June 25th. Has everyone had a chance to review those? Does anyone have any issues?
No.
No.
I move that we adopt the minutes as presented.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So much easier than Zoom. Okay. So, well, the first order of business was the minutes, so I guess this is the second order of business. Old business, appeal number 2025-13 Wilkins Lane Properties LLC. Wilkins Lane Properties LLC has applied for a special permit pursuant to Section 240-125C 1 through 3, special permit provisions, and 240-38.1F mixed-use subzone of medical services overlay district. The applicant seeks to construct 5 residential apartment buildings containing a total of 320 units, which will be served by a combination of surface parking and detached garages. The proposal also includes 1 single-story clubhouse / leasing office and residential amenities such as pool, courtyards, outdoor seating areas, grills, and dog run area. The subject property is located at 0 Wilkins Lane, Hyannis, Mass, as shown on Assessor's Map 296 as parcel 039001. It's located in the industrial residential residence G, RG, and business B zoning districts, and medical services overlay MSO, mixed-use subzone of the MSO, and GP and AP overlay districts. This has been continued from May 28th, 2025, June 11th, 2025, and July 9th, 2025. Members assigned: Jacob Dewey, who's not present, Herb Bodenseek, Mark Hanson, Manny Alves, and Natalie Panet. Sorry about your name tonight. And Natalie Pittenger. Aaron is going to sit in, and you have, is there some kind of paperwork he has to go through or something? Okay. So I guess we'll start with Attorney Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Mike Ford, attorney representing the applicant. With me is John Tuig from New England Development, and all of the folks. I won't go back and introduce the entire team. We've done that already for the record, but they're here as well and able to respond. So we've put together a very short agenda as our presentation this evening. You may recall at the end of the last hearing, the applicant was challenged, so to speak, by one of the members. I think it was Mr. Alves. Would we be in a position to kind of review everything that, all the testimony that's been given, and some of the suggestions from those that wanted to see the project improved in some fashion, and where we saw fit, perhaps prepare some additional conditions for the board's consideration and get those to the board. And that was our charge, as I recall it. So we've done that, and we've submitted that to the board prior to tonight. However, for the purposes of the public hearing, we've got it all on our presentation, so the public will be able to see everything that we refer to as well. So the first thing I'd like to do, just very briefly, is again, where we were at in terms of the proceedings, is we were in the middle of the special permit criteria, which the board was discussing, and I think we all agreed the special permit in this case is a three-pronged test. We had to show that it fell under a category specifically exempted under Chapter 240 of the zoning ordinance. It does. Multifamily dwellings in this subzone, apartments on a lot, any portion of which is set back greater than 1,000 feet from Kids Hill Road within this mixed-use subzone are allowed by special permit. We had prepared a map that we presented in the second public hearing that showed where that 1,000-foot line was located, and therefore there was no question that we were in the area in which the application falls within a special permit use. So we checked that box. I'll leave 2 alone for a minute because that's the one where the board was beginning to discuss that. That's the one where an evaluation of all the evidence presented at the public hearing shows the project fulfills the spirit and intent of the chapter without substantial detriment to the public good in the neighborhood. And that's kind of where we were left off, and we're given a challenge, and I'll review that as we go through the rest of the presentation. The third prong of the test is that you've gone to site plan review and you have an approved site plan letter from site plan approval, which we have, and that's been presented for the record. So before I go to the proposed conditions that we're going to present to you tonight in support of that second prong, in addition to everything else that's already in the record, wanted to simply review very quickly some of the project benefits that we've discussed. The first, and we're happy to be fresh off a review of the fiscal analysis that we had filed with the board and with the Cape Cod Commission, and the Comprehensive Financial Advisory Committee of the town, so-called CFAC. We were asked to submit our analysis to them for their review by this board. We did under a letter that I sent through the town manager's office dated July 18th, and the town council also had made a request, since CFAC falls under their jurisdiction as well as the town manager's jurisdiction under your charter, that they perform a review of that physical analysis. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when I get to towards the end of the presentation, but suffices to say that the net physical impact after their review is somewhere in the vicinity of $484,519 to the town. Of course, these are all estimates. It's all the future, but that's the number that we're using. And an additional $83,464 to the fire district for a total of $567,983. And as I'll show in a chart towards the end, that's a reoccurring contribution that will come to the town through taxes, and most likely will increase over time. The second and perhaps most important benefit of this project is that it includes exclusively year-round rental. These are not for-sale units. The ordinance itself here in Barnstable was drafted so that they had to be rental units. They have to be 12-month rental units, and 10% of them could be less than 12 months, but not less than 6 months to handle transition moving in and out. The total number of units required under the ordinance is 42. That's a combination of 65% at 10%. So 10% of those 42 affordables are at 65% AMI, and the balance are at 80% AMI. And those are all requirements of the ordinance, requirements that we need to show you that were achieved in order to have you grant the special permit. The third prong of the benefits is the public infrastructure improvements, which include, and I'll get into those in a little bit more detail, but include the transportation mitigation into the DRI decision as required by the Cape Cod Commission, a copy of which was attached to our special permit application, and a contribution to the county, which will be spent for the benefit of the town of Barnstable to offset congestion impacts within the town of Barnstable. Fourth, this project is a redevelopment. It's a former sand mining operations site. The project will result in improvements to pedestrian infrastructure in the area, including upgrading infrastructure to be compliant with ADA. And the project will, just like Phase 1 of Wilkins, utilize high-efficiency electric heat pumps. So these are all electric buildings. That was a request from the Cape Cod Commission, and one which we acceded to with Wilkins 1, and the same is proposed for Wilkins 2. And of course, that achieves the climate goals, reducing regional reliance on fossil fuels. And finally, the project is walkable. There are amenities, both retail, dining. It's located within walking distance of the public bus routes, and also to Hathaway's Pond. So now to get to our charge, as I'll call it, from this board. We've developed 8 conditions. One of them you've seen before, which is the first one, the water connection condition. And that hasn't changed, but just to put it in perspective, though, to review it, that condition evolved around a request from the Barnstable Water and Fire District, acting both through their water department and through their fire department, that the site be provided with connections fed off 2 12-inch water mains on different streets. The concern there was we had designed one that simply came up the driveway. It was a loop system. And they said, no, if there was a problem on Wilkins, then we could see that there may be a problem getting water to this particular site. So we drafted this condition with the help of both the water superintendent and the fire chief. And in essence, in words of substance, the condition provides, and it had a sketch with it, that we first seek the second 12-inch water main connection through the BJ site, which adjoins this particular property. And we work together with the water department to see if we can obtain whatever real estate rights are necessary to connect into the BJ site. BJ's has a loop system, comes off of attics, and the water department thought it would be an improvement to the water flow on the BJ site, as well as be a good 12-inch connection. So that's the first alternative, and our charge is to work with the water department to seek whatever approvals are necessary to have that be the second 12-inch water main. In the event that we're unable to do that, and the period we've given ourselves, this is one we agreed upon with the water and fire departments, within 90 days from the issuance of the special permit. Then we're to proceed with a design of alternates, one of which would either come from first Wilkins and Attucks, or the second alternative after that, Wilkins and Kids Hill. And the Wilkins and Attucks would go through the remaining Cape Cod Hospital property, which we feel certainly can get worked out, or it will go through Hanover 1 and head out to Kids Hill Road that way, that being the third alternative, which is the way the Water Department and the Fire Department wanted us to set that up. So that's reduced now to a condition, which we are offering with the approval of both the Water and Fire Departments to this board as a condition of any special permit that you may decide is issued in this particular case. So there's really no change to that, but I wanted to kind of review it so it was fresh in everybody's mind what that was. This second one is really a requirement of our Cape Cod Commission approval, so this is not a new condition either. The others are all new conditions that I'll talk to you about, but this one was simply to review the sidewalk mitigation to bring the internal sidewalks and the ones on Wilkins and Attucks into ADA compliance. This one also mentions other crosswalks and pedestrian improvements that are all required in the Cape Cod Commission decision under the transportation section. Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at those. They're condition C17 and of the DRI decision, and also the $324,000 congestion payment that's made to the county for use within the town. So now we get to the new ones. And again, what we did, we took your charge and went back and reviewed the record and tried to focus on those things that either members of the board or members of the public had suggested as potential changes to this project that would help you in your deliberations under that second prong with the phrase substantial detriment. So this third one is a pedestrian connectivity request, and if approved, fund an access and construction easement from the neighboring property to construct a pedestrian pathway out to Finney's Lane and on to Hathaway's Pond. It's not land that we own, but I can report to the board we have a good relationship with our neighbors and that particular property owner. It is our understanding, and that, of course, is where the current asphalt plant is, that they will be seeking a redevelopment of their property in the future. And we see an opportunity for this access to be obtained and constructed during that period of time. And so we're optimistic on this one. We will attach, as the planning department asked us to, a conceptual plan to be attached or submitted to the planning department in support of this. And this would, this plan and whatever efforts we've made would need to be finalized before the final certificate of occupancy. If, in fact, we had made those requests and we could show you that we had, and at some point we get a letter back from the abutting property owner saying, no, there is no interest, there is no way they can do it, then we would still be in compliance with this. But again, we've reached out, we have a good relationship, and we're optimistic on this one, and we hope that you'll see that as a way for us to address some of the comments with respect to pedestrian connectivity, getting some sort of pedestrian access over to Finney's and then on to Hathaway's Pond. Next condition, condition number 4, is to install solar panels on the south and southeasterly exposures of all 5 residential buildings. I recall a comment made, if you made it once, you made it a couple of times, and that's Mr. Webb of your board. Okay, so you're building solar ready, why don't you just put the panels on? And so we went back, we heard that, we looked at it, and looked at what the design would be, and there are other things up on the rooftop, but we did find areas on each building where we could put panels. They are in the south and southeasterly exposures on all 5 residential panels, and those are a commitment and would be a requirement before occupancy permit. The The next condition we're offering, again, we heard, was can there be some local preference with respect to these 42 affordable units? Just a note, in Wilkins 1, where all the affordable units are filled, we achieved a 70% local preference rate. Our experience was in that one, that was the limitation that was imposed by the state. You have to apply, you get a finding, they give you a percentage, and in that one, 70% was the limitation, and we met it right up to 70%. We understand the goal with this proposed condition number 5 is to try and get it to 100%. And certainly, if we're able to get that permission from those that set those standards, that we could go up to 100%. We may not be able to get there, but at least we're on board and working with the town. That should be the goal, and for the affordable units, if we can achieve it. But local preference could be a condition, and we offer it as a condition of the special permit. The next one was on the power agreement. There was a lot of discussion about this at the last meeting, back and forth, and how it could be, how a green power purchase agreement could be, one, entered into, and two, how you could get, as a town, the necessary documentation that that was happening. And so we've drafted this condition. We had offered last time to provide the town with a copy of the form lease, even for the tenants. And we've changed the language in this, and I wanted to give you a heads up on that, from the one that we filed last week to a form of lease identifying to the extent permitted by law the requirements regarding power purchase agreement. And the reason we made that change is that there is a possibility for a tenant to opt out, and we were advised of that. And so we had to add that phrase, to the extent permitted by law, and that's what that is. Doesn't mean they're going to opt out, but we wanted to at least acknowledge that possibility within the law and tell you about it, and then put it in the condition. Other than that, we believe that condition meets the spirit and the intent of what we discussed with you the last time. Number 7, this is one we spent quite a bit of work on. If I heard it once, I heard it at every meeting I went to, both before the Cape Cod Commission and before the town. Can you do a little bit more affordable? Is there any way? It's important, before we talk about this one a little bit, to remind everyone that the 42 units that we are creating that will be permanently deed restricted are being done without any subsidy. No subsidy whatsoever, state, federal, or local. What we're suggesting is that we would be in a position, if we can come to an agreement with your local affordable housing trust, they're called the Affordable Housing Growth and Development Trust Fund, that up to an additional 8 units could be restricted as affordable up to 100%. And we heard from a number of members and from the public that 100% percentage AMI was an important one. And while we're addressing the 65 and we're addressing the 80% with the 42 units as required under the Barnstable ordinance, to create some units and have them restricted at 100% is important if it could happen. And so we're suggesting that for a 6-month period, commencing after the issuance of the special permit, we would work with your local trust to see if there is some way that this can happen, either through a rental assistance where the trust ends up paying the delta between the market rent and the 100%, or an actual buy down of a restriction that runs with the land, depending on what the agreement is. One comment we heard, and you should be aware of it, from your planning staff was that maybe the 6 months, we had initially offered 4 months, They said 4 months is just not enough time for our trust to actually work it out. So we went back and increased it to 6 months. What you should know is that doesn't mean 6 months to closing. That's just 6 months to come up with an agreement as to how it could be done and get it signed between the applicant and the trust. Closing could be a year later when the money comes, or 15 months later, or whatever, why the buildings are being built. So this isn't looking for somebody to necessarily come up with this money during the 6-month period, simply to see if we can come up with what we define as a trust agreement during that period of time. And we worded it flexibly so that it doesn't have to be all 8. We're hoping it is all 8, but it's up to all 8, depending on what the resources are out there that can be devoted, and to the extent that those are appropriate. So we're excited about that one. We think it's a creative condition. We offer it in good faith, and with the further comment that we stand ready to work in good faith with your trust to make sure that something happens under that particular condition to create, hopefully, an additional 8 units. If that happens and it increases from 42 to 50, that would be a total of 15.6 affordable units in this site of the 320 units proposed. Lastly, this is one that frankly was not really on our radar screen, although as we went back and listened to the conversation at the last hearing, there were a couple of board members that said, hey, aren't we kind of subsidizing your sewer connection? I mean, you got all these units coming in, you're taking up some sewer capacity from the town. That's something that we think is important. That weighs on our decision with respect to substantial detriment. So when we went for our CFAC review, the issue of the cost to the town with respect to connecting to the sewer came up again. However, it was not part of our fiscal analysis, and as you can see in the CFAC analysis that you got, that I'll go through, they completed their analysis as directed by the scope, just working off the one we gave them that did not include any sewer analysis, but made a suggestion that they had heard from some of the participants at their meetings that the cost of sewer was an issue. And so some of the discussion there, and you'll probably hear some of that from some of the folks here tonight, was about whether there could be an assessment of a sewer system development fee on Wilkins. We found out in going to these meetings that CFAC had actually proposed to the town that they consider a sewer system development charge. Back in 2021, they had worked on it in 2019, and submitted to the council, and the council, in their wisdom at the time, decided not to impose such a fee. So there is none right now in Barnstable. There is not a regulation in place that would allow an assessment of a sewer system development fee. So we reasoned that since it was such a concern and people were looking for something from the applicant in that regard, that we're proposing in our condition to pay a one-time sewer system development, and we're calling it a contribution because it's not really a charge because there isn't a charge out there, of $244,278. Now, where do we come up with that number? We came up with that number by the experience of the applicant in other communities where they have constructed housing projects and worked with those towns in terms of sewer fees upon connection that they paid to those towns. And their experience is that that could be anywhere from $1 in some communities all the way up to $10 per gallon in some communities. And that it is normally tied to your generation, your proposed generation of the number of gallons that the project would generate. And so we took the estimated sewer flow, which we think is pretty close because we've got a sewer flow from Hanover 1, and that's come out. We know what that number is, so we've used that, worked with the water department, and came up with that number, and then multiplied it by the highest number, $10 per gallon, that my clients had experience with in other communities. And that resulted in what we thought was a rational fee of $244,278. We hope you'll consider this in good faith. What we've tried to do is recognize that that's an issue for some, even though it's not a charge that your town currently charges somebody to be hooked up. But we think that given everything that we've heard and the request that you made at the last meeting, we're offering that as condition number 8. Those are the conditions. I do want to make just a couple of comments in terms of financial review. If I may, Mr. Chairman, I'm almost complete. I perhaps running a little longer on this than I thought I would. And I wanted to say a word about the CFAC Fiscal Analysis Review. Again, that was at the request of this board, and I sent a letter to the town manager dated July 18th, getting the copies over there. I also gave your finance director, Mr. Milne, a copy of the fiscal that we had done for Phase 1, so they had that for background and they could look at that, and that provided a lot of good resource and information, I think, for them in the course of looking at things. Their report is in there. You can read it and make your own conclusions, but they do seem quite clearly to come down on the side that they do see a net fiscal impact of $484,518 to the town, and an additional $83,464 to the fire district. And so the next slide, and I think I have one more slide after that, Mr. Chairman. This slide simply shows you the fees, taxes, one-time fees and taxes that will be paid by the Wilkins 2 project. Give you an idea of what would be coming into the town. Net tax revenue to the town, as verified by CFAC, $484,519. To the fire district, $83,464. So a reoccurring annually, which will only go up, of $567,983. And then the one-time fees that the town would get. The building permit fees, and that's approximate. Where do we get that? That's based upon Hanover 1, which had fewer units, so it'll probably be greater than that, but that's an idea, $630,000. The sewer contribution that I just discussed, which would be condition number 8, $244,278. The ZBA application fee, which was $32,750, comes into the town. The DPW, we did at the request of the DPW, when working with them to satisfy our site plan review requirement, we did an update of their model. That was an expense of $25,500, and that's something now the DPW has as a tool to use going forward. And then the traffic congestion payment of $324,000 through the Cape Cod Commission for the benefit of roads in the town of Barnstable. Finally, we've also listed a water connection fee. That's approximate because once we get going and apply for a building permit, we will sit down under the water balance program. We haven't put what the number would be for that yet because we just don't know, but there will be an additional fee under the water balance program. But we know that the connection fee, which is separate from that, will be at least $90,000. That's based on the Phase 1. So that's a total of $1,346,528. So I just wanted to kind of give that to the board so they kind of see as part of the contributions that this applicant has worked hard to make sure that they're leaving the town with financial contributions. So my conclusion, where I started, the three-pronged test. One, A and C, we know we're in a category specifically exempted. We have site plan review, but it was that B that the board was beginning to discuss and frankly telling us they were struggling with a bit. And that was the evaluation of all the evidence presented at the public hearing shows that the project fulfills the spirit and intent of the chapter without substantial detriment to the public good in the neighborhood. And I'd suggest to you respectfully that we've made a good faith effort, as you've asked us to do, and we think with the conditions as proposed, and I'm sure the board will want to discuss them, that you can make a finding that this project will not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood in which it exists over there in Independence Park. So that's our presentation. I did want to mention one housekeeping matter. When we filed our special permit, we attached the DRI decision from the commission. There has been one amendment to the DRI decision. It occurred in late July. It was made on a so-called de minimis finding. To put it in perspective, when we were going through the DRI process, the state building code with respect to the stretch energy code changed, and as a result of that, things needed to have been changed on the plans that were approved by the Cape Cod Commission. And so we submitted a request that we continue to do all the things that we said we were going to do with respect to the project from an energy standpoint, but that we simply not be classified under the stretch code as it created other problems with respect to the design and some of the things that we could use in the building itself. Happy to go into that in more detail. Hopefully you've got a copy of it, but I didn't want to conclude my presentation without at least mentioning that to you. So that's our presentation, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Happy to take questions. The team is as well.
Sure. Anybody have any questions?
Sorry, just a quick question while you were right on that. So was that a request to the Cape Cod Commission, speaking specifically about the stretch energy code, was that a request to the commission that
Yes, it
was
was.
amended, or that is in process?
No, it was actually the commission issued back on July 17th what they referred to as they approved it as a de minimis change. Their finding was that even with that change, the project and the plans as designed meet the goals and objectives of the regional policy plan and the methods of energy in the technical bulletin required. So that's done. It's happened. If you don't have a copy, I'd be happy to get it to you. The things that were causing us concern from the standpoint of the stretch code were that you had to have heat pump ventless dryers that they haven't really developed yet. You had to have, resulting in a longer dryer cycle. It reduced the size of the refrigerators that could be put in the units. It required additional mechanical closets to separate some of the various types of units, reducing usable space for the tenants that have been shown on the plan. The triple pane window requirement, and my understanding is the triple pane windows are difficult to find out there, was eliminated. So those were the things that that we would not have to comply with. We still have to comply with, and the commission laid it out in their decision, 16 things. I won't mention them all, but I commend you to read it, page 2 of their decision with respect to energy.
That's fine. I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Any?
Simple one. Go back, if you could go back one on your slides.
Certainly. Which slide do you want to see?
The CFAC fiscal analysis.
Yes.
Yeah. One more. The table. I was just curious, I'll ask you, that among the recurring costs, I was expecting to see sewer usage.
Sewer usage is paid for. You get a bill, you pay for.
So the individual tenants incur that cost?
Yeah, well, they do, yes.
Okay.
Yep, built into, it's part of their expense.
Okay. Another clarification, on the solar panels condition, any additional details, how many, what kind of wattage you intend to produce, what part of the building would it cover? Is this going to result in a reduction in the expenses to the tenants?
You have a slide on that?
Is there a plan?
Yeah, this is Mr. Tuick, but a good question, and I think we can be responsive to that.
For the record, John Tuig. Mr. Alves, what they have done is taken the south and the southeasterly quadrant on all 5 buildings, because it's the area we want, almost the length of the building, and put solar panels on there, the largest size that we can. So that's really, and I'm not sure that, I just asked Mark if the plan was done, but it's virtually the entire side of each one of those 5 buildings. The other side in the middle have got a lot of the units and the like, but it's a north of $1 million system for solar panels for all 5 buildings, just to give you a sense. We spent a fair amount of time, because as you know, when we came back and talked about it, and what that's about is really would like the technology to get, we were making it solar ready, but part of your commentary about how do you make this project better, what can we do, was we went back, we had all the consultants come in, and they were able to develop plans for each one. They're going to be all identical, and it's not different, because they're 5 buildings. They're going to be all the south and the southeast facing roof. All those sides will be solar panels on all 5 buildings, if that helps.
Okay, thank you.
I may jump in and out here. I'm just going through my
Sure.
notes as I ran. I appreciate the presentation because it's very thorough, so writing quickly as we were going here. So if I could just for a moment go back to the purchase of the
Additional
green power, and
Oh, the green
I do understand. Yeah, I do understand that obviously people have a right to opt out. My guess in this instance, and just I'm talking out loud here, is that they will in fact opt out. One of the things that has been suggested to me, and I had spoken to somebody about, was that in these situations where there is an opt-out, that on projects like this, that they potentially look at buying green energy offset credits for the total power of the structure that it's consuming each month. I don't know if that's been looked into, but it's certainly, I'd like at least to be thought about.
Okay.
Because I do believe people will opt out. It's obviously more expensive. It's just something that I wanted to mention.
Well, we've got to the extent permitted by law, so if there's another way to offer this to the tenants that may be more binding, we could do that.
I have kind of related question. Is there a tax incentive for those that don't opt out for the green energy?
Mr. Chairman, with apologies, and Steve Dazzo can come and speak to it, it's actually not. We don't expect them to opt out because it's actually cheaper for them to opt into. The reason why we added that caveat is we can't disclose what individual people do and individual tenants do.
No, I understand.
But we fully expect people are going to opt in, not opt out.
I mean, this is probably the first time I've heard that power is less expensive. I'd be willing to look at that if that could be shown. It wasn't, so I don't know what
Traditionally
has
it wasn't.
changed.
We would have said to you that people will opt out because it's more money. That's just not the case anymore. And how Cape Cod deals with its green compact and how the energy comes in, it actually works for the tenants to do this.
I appreciate the information, and if possible, if you could provide us something that just shows that. Thank you very much.
Anyone else?
I have one more.
Okay.
On the up to an additional 8 units, affordable units, I guess I'm reacting to the way the condition is written, because it reads as if you control all the cards. And that's crudely put, I apologize. But what I'm trying to say is, if the trust commits sufficient funds acceptable to you, you would agree to do this. That sounds like if the initial offer is, we'll do this if you put up 8 I'm going to make up a number, 95%, which wouldn't be acceptable, then the outcome's predetermined. You know, after 6 months, you just walk away from this commitment. You understand what I'm trying to say? I
do.
I guess there was a meeting of the trust fund last week. There's another one in September. They meet monthly. I guess it would have been plainer to me if, in fact, at least preliminary discussions had been had, such that we know where the parties' positions are. And I appreciate, and I don't want to impugn bad faith here. I know that you'll negotiate in good faith, but it seems illusory.
Yeah, I know, I hear what you're saying. Let me suggest, and maybe Mr. Tuig wants to follow up on this, but you want to start?
Well, I just started, and it's not, again, John Tuig, there have been some discussions with staff about the condition. They're concerned that it be broader than just a rental subsidy, because they may want to buy, and they may have additional monies that they allow for a buy down. So we want to leave it open so that if a rental subsidy isn't possible, and they want to do a buy down, and we can structure it that way, giving ourselves 6 months to sort of figure out, you know, what is the best avenue for them to go down. And to give you a sense, and we, you know, someone had made a comment about, you know, well, how does that relate to the other benefits of the project? If they were to buy down all 8 units, it's about $67,000 a year. This is not an unattainable opportunity. And that also allows for, is there an opportunity to be able to buy, you know, a one-time payment, because that may actually be easier for the trust to do. So we feel that we have a number of units where the dollar is attainable, and we'll work with them to find a structure that works for either through dollars that are getting in or grant money. They're a little bit concerned about the rent subsidy. They did it for a while, didn't work out great for them. We want to kind of look at it again. But again, that we didn't want to presume, and this presumes that the board supports this. We will go back and we will spend the time with them to come up with a structure. But again, it's not an unattainable goal, and that puts us at over 15% affordable for this project, which is really, you know, a very substantial number. But also, it was reflective of, I think, you know, Mr. Webb, your comments, Mr. Alves, about how do you make this project better? What can you do? And that was what our effort was. And I would just ask this, I said, you know, and it is always, you know, you're dependent upon us to, you know, do good, you know, be faithful, use good faith and negotiate. We have been doing this for about 40 years. You know, our only calling card is what other communities we have worked in. We'll always follow up on our conditions, and we'll deal and to try to make that work, because there's no disincentive for us to not have that work. It's an incentive. And I ask the question, what is that delta? Is that something that's going to be achievable? And the answer to that is yes. So that's where we're at.
Thank you for that, because I appreciate the answer, but just one quick follow-up.
Absolutely,
So
please.
you talk about the sort of dual approach, either a buy down or rental assistance, and thank you for clarifying that. But one other question, a clarifying question. So what you would be looking to the trust to contribute, the delta, as you put it, is market value, the upper end, to 100% of AMI. That's
right. Okay. That's right. And again, that was somewhat driven by the people saying that, you know, we understand what you're doing on the affordable level, but what about that person who's kind of right on the edge?
Yep.
You know, a little bit more than affordable, but not quite at market. What can we do to add to help that person? And can we create units? And the 8 units was really, can we get to 50 units of this project being truly affordable? And that's where we went with that.
Thank you.
Hi, Mark?
Yes, and if I could just sort of follow up on that very quickly, sorry. And again, I also,
Third time, you're
All
going
right,
to
that's
have to sign
I'm going to
it.
have to sign in now. There we go.
and I also wanted to say that, you know, I appreciate obviously the proposed addition of units and their you know, percentage makeup. In your experience, have you ever not been able to come to an agreement with a housing authority or with the town that you were undertaking a similar type of approach with this?
This is a little unique. The only time that we were not able to achieve resolution was on agreeing, and it was in Cambridge, about the ability for their trust to buy into a unit, because under their old rules, and I'm going to go back now about 8, 9 years, they were valuing a unit at $180,000. And in Cambridge, your average construction cost is about $650,000. That was the only time that they wanted to buy additional units. There just was no way to come to that. That's about the only time. This type of a structure, whether it be rent subsidy, whether it be payment, because of the delta we're talking about, I call it a delta just because, I literally want to know by unit, by type, what we could have. I think the number should be achievable, and the goal is there, so why shouldn't the affordable? And for our standpoint, it kind of makes us, whole and allows us to run 50 affordable units. And based on our experience in Wilkins 1, for our 30-plus units, we had 150 applicants. They were gone, just like that. And we expect we're going to have the same situation here.
If the town could do more than 8?
I was
would
just
you
going to
agree?
ask that.
Yeah, I don't think we would object to it under this type of a system, but we would put out there. The other side of it, though, is when we go for financing and structure, we have to be able to say, well, we can't say, 8 might become 15. No, we have to be able to say, here's what the structure is. That's all. We've got to know in that time frame. I mean, if they said, listen, we can do 10 units and make it work, fine. And nobody's going to be concerned about that.
Does somewhat speak to has there been a conversation, where I agree it's not unachievable, and honestly, I think the town wants to participate. And if we can, if there is an area, if there is some space there to do more, maybe we look at that. Thank you.
Yeah, so just along those same lines, I mean, it does, first off, I just want to say I commend you for the efforts here. There's no doubt you've been listening and appreciate everything that you've heard and responded to. So I'm, hats off to you for that effort, for sure. If we can add 15 to that number of 8, I mean, again, we got 270 units at market rate at this point. If the 50 are, can we change that number to 15? Can we change it to 20? Where is that? Where does it make sense? Because I don't know for sure if the town comes to you and says, 10, if we don't have it in the agreement.
I have to tell you, if that was something that just you want to say 8 to 10 units or approximately 8 to 10 units or not less than or up to, I mean, any kind of language like that is fine. I have to say to you, a building operation changes once you start to get much above 15%, just because of the affordable percentage and because there are different issues with that. So the building makeup starts to change a little bit more. I can give you, not to focus on a place like Cambridge, it's got really nothing to do with Barnstable, but they went to 20%. And it virtually killed every multifamily development in the city of Cambridge. And that's been true for about 4 years. Because the economics no longer work, the building has to function differently. So the sweet spot is, you don't really want to be much more than 15%. But I have no problem, up to 10 or something, if we want to do that, that's fine.
Sorry, follow up to your comments. If in fact the delta is bringing you to market, how is the economics impacting?
Affordable units are run differently. They, all part of the lottery system. How they get dealt with from a finance and equity standpoint, even though we can say, we still will have to put these 8 units in our financial pro forma as affordable units. We'll just have to, because they are, and they have to be treated that way, and they would be restricted that way, which has a different ability for us to be able to raise equity on it and debt. I don't want to get into the financial part, but they are treated differently because we will treat them and have to treat them as affordable units because they're restricted.
You don't mean operating revenue, you're thinking how to transact?
Operations on how you have to run the lottery on them, the turnover, the requirements of compliance with law, they are different. And they're just a different part of the model when we have to call them and restrict them as affordable units. It's a different cost structure. It will actually cost us more. That's just the nature of what it is.
But the bottom line is they are deed restricted, so it's not like you're saying, well, we'll do our best, but if we can't get the 8 in there,
The 42 units are deed restricted. We're going to assume that the trust will probably say they'd like to restrict the other 8 units. but, subject to what structure they want to do. I mean, if they just want to do a rent subsidy for a period of time, that's one set of issues. If they want to do a perpetual buy-down, that's another set of issues.
But it's still not 100% certain for those 8 units. You're just going to do your best.
Right. I mean, we can't, I mean, it does involve a third party, in this case, the trust, providing funding. I mean, that is true, which we can't control, but we certainly can provide a structure. And I tried to give you the numbers to kind of show that this is achievable. So, I mean, if you think about trying to get, when people think about in Barnstable, making a unit affordable, I mean, it's relatively short dollars to do that.
Anybody else have any? ideas
Just
on
to
that?
follow up on that, Attorney Ford, or do you have anything currently, any comment by the Housing Trust or any letter from the Housing Trust that shows this favorably or comments on this favorably?
So I don't. I've had 2 conversations with Jillian Douglas, who is staff to the trust, and I specifically told her that it was our position that we did not want to go to the Housing Trust and start to work out this agreement until we knew that we have a green light from the Board of Appeals to proceed with this special permit, because we didn't want to get into negotiating with the trust why we didn't even have a special permit. So we haven't gone to the trust, and I have spoken with Jillian Douglas, and she said that, she doesn't speak for the trust. She's not a trustee. She's simply staff, and she indicated that this was kind of an exciting opportunity. But beyond that, no.
Okay, thank you.
Nobody else? I can't think of anything. I could open public comment. Well, it's already open, but ask for elicit public comment. Would anybody like to speak?
Good evening, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. My name is Tony Shepley. I've been before you the last 2 meetings. I moved to Cape Cod over 50 years ago as a 20-year-old. I had no family here, no connections, and fortunately for me, English was my first language, so that made it a little bit easier than a lot of people are challenged with today. My family questioned my move. They almost, if they'd had interventions back then, they probably would have had one, saying, why are you moving to a non-year-round economy? What are you going to do? And I said, don't worry, I'll find a way, and we'll work it out. Well, things were a little bit easier in the early 1970s. Rents were cheaper. Zoning was far simpler. There was no building code. There were no energy codes. And we found a way. We made it work. In the past 50 years, we've added a lot of challenge and obstacle to make it difficult for people to come here and to live here. We are one of the most expensive places to live in the country. If you remember that figure, the average house on Cape Cod, I've read recently, is $720,000, and the quick numbers are 10% down, 6.5% mortgage. Your monthly payment will be $7,000 a month. This is a worry for all of us. You are worried about affordability. I'm worried about affordability, and our townspeople are worried about affordability. I'm so sorry that Chairman Dewey is not here tonight, because he actually has experience in this very field. He has built apartments, so he knows the challenge of trying to stay on a budget. He knows the unintended consequences of regulation, of permitting, and all the factors that a builder must contend with today. New England Development is a proven entity. They've been doing this for 40 years. They build high-quality projects. We can drive to Hanover right now, and actually my wife went through there the other day and said, quite nice amenities, thought it was great. So they've earned their stripes. They're not a question mark. I believe that today Hanover is fully rented. I know the affordables are completely rented. It's attractive, good amenities. It seems to be priced right because nobody is forcing people to rent houses in Hanover. They're going there of their own free will. So Rob Brennan pointed out, and I thought he did make a good point, when you increase the supply of anything, you help control pricing. When you limit the supply of anything, it goes up. So I think when you add more units of housing, you're doing a lot of people a favor. My first rentals on Cape Cod for the first few years that I lived here were nowhere near as nice as Hanover, I can tell you that. But it gave me a stepping stone, and it gave me a little bit of a toehold, and I'm proud to stand here today as a homeowner in the town of Barnstable. 42 affordable units, great. Maybe there's even room for 50. We have to remember something. Mr. Tuig explained this very well. These are rented below cost for the benefit of the public. There's not a one of us that's going to go out and make an investment without thinking it through pretty carefully, where we're bound to lose money on part of that investment. They're subsidized by the market rate units. So somebody, in one of the last two meetings, said, well, why don't we make these 100% affordable? Well, that's 100% loss. No company can do that. So this is a little bit of a tricky thing. Every affordable unit that we add does increase their cost. And if you're any kind of a business person, what are you going to do? You're going to find a way to add it back somewhere else. So we just got to be careful with the balance. By the way, the longer this project takes, the longer the permitting takes, the more that we increase cost. That doesn't help townspeople. So if we don't approve this project, we've got fewer units in the town of Barnstable. We know what that does. There is tremendous need for housing right now. The burden of retaining and recruiting employees is on every single employer, large or small. You've been seeing cutbacks in restaurants, service industries, stores. Why? Because of employee shortage. The daily commute from off Cape Cod is now a quarter of our workforce. Is that accurate? Oh, maybe it's more. Okay. I was trying to be conservative. It's taking its toll on our roadways, our bridges, our traffic congestion of all the trade parade that's coming on every day, and it's taking its toll on our employees. So our residents are sort of getting the message that they really aren't wanted in Barnstable, which is really a shame. I chose to come here. I've stayed here 50 years, and I'm staying here for a whole lot longer. So the worst part is they're now starting to get convinced they can't afford to live in Barnstable. So members of the board, how does this bode for our future? If we make it unaffordable, we better be careful of the consequences. So I urge you to vote in favor of this project. I ask that you let the applicant get to work on increasing our housing supply, because we've got a real problem right now. This project is zoned correctly. It's got everybody's approval but yours. It's on town sewer. It's convenient to town. We've all talked about this. It doesn't create more suburban sprawl, which we've got too much of already. It's well thought out, and it will be well built. I would ask that we ask ourselves, what can we be doing to encourage more sensible growth in addition to our housing supply to begin to get this problem under control? So as a resident of the town of Barnstable, as an employer in the town of Barnstable, as a parent in the town of Barnstable, I'm asking you to give Wilkins Way a chance to get underway, phase 2, and let's start tackling the problem of housing affordability. It's not going to get better by itself. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes. Oh.
Good evening. My name's Paul Nedzwicki. I'm the CEO of the Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce, formerly the Assistant Town Manager here in Barnstable, and formerly the Executive Director of the Cape Cod Commission. The Cape Cod Chamber of Commerce represents 1,500 businesses across Cape Cod. 92% of those businesses have 20 or fewer employees. 60% have 5 or fewer. We are not a big business organization. We represent business owners and we represent their families. The number one issue facing business owners on the Cape right now is labor supply, and that problem is tied directly to the housing situation in town. We currently import almost 30% of our workforce every day crosses the bridges to come in to work here. Of all those small businesses, I mean, when we look at the housing situation we have now, you could be a family making up to $80,000 and still qualify for subsidized housing if you can find it. You have to be making over $220,000 to even think about getting into the residential market. Every one of my family and friends makes less than $220,000. This is an opportunity. You know, 86% of the land on the Cape is either developed or protected. 82% of the housing stock on the Cape are single-family homes, compared to a 52% average statewide. We need diversity in our housing typology, and we need programs and projects like this that are going to address that missing middle, those people that are in between $80,000 and $220,000. Because if we don't, we're going to continue to import more people as employees, and we're going to continue to see an exodus of the middle class. And that's really what's at stake here with the housing discussion on Cape Cod. If we don't change, if we don't change the housing typology and the way that we go about building and constructing, in 20 years, you're going to have a peninsula that's full of wealthy retiree and second and third homeowners. And I guarantee they will not share your values. They will not share the values of the community that made Cape Cod and made Barnstable such a great town to live in. So we have to be cognizant of the bigger picture here. It's important to everyone. We are still basically a travel and tourism economy, although that's changing to more of a year-round economy in the Upper Cape and the Mid Cape. In 2023, the Cape did $2.7 billion in visitor spend. That generated almost $250 million in rooms and meals taxes. 160 went to the state, over 160. 80 million stayed here with the 15 towns as a direct influx and infusion of cash into our local town budgets. That isn't going to change anytime soon. We're going to continue to move forward. But it becomes more of a struggle every year when people who live here, people who have children that live here, people who have parents that live here but no longer want to own a single-family home and cut the grass, have no place to go. So we have to be cognizant of this life cycle of housing as we move forward. New England Development is a good company. I permitted projects that they brought through the commission when I was there for 10 years. They're a reliable company. I believe they'll do what they say they're going to do. We need this project. We shouldn't be surprised about where it is. I mean, basically in the industrial park, very liberal zoning, sewers, and no neighbors. It's difficult to put even small housing projects into existing neighborhoods on the Cape. This is a good project. The Chamber wants to see it move forward, and we hope that you see it that way too. It's incredibly important. We don't want to become a community in 10 or 20 years that is hollowed out, that's sterile. We want the people that made the Cape and made the town of Barnstable what it is today to be able to stay here. We want their families to be able to stay as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Hi, Michael Bachstein, Vice President of Cape Cod Healthcare. Thank you for having me here tonight. I'm going to say a few words on behalf of the hospital. I'm here to speak in favor of the project. Any new housing on Cape Cod, especially short-term and long-term rental units, is a benefit to support our staff, our providers, our nurses, and our management teams. As we all know, housing is hard to come by on Cape Cod, even if it's available. The cost of homes have skyrocketed far beyond the affordability and out of reach of so many. The only option being short-term winter rentals and apartments. And many times, the conditions of the rental units also come into question, but everyone needs a place to call home. An example of some employees that we have lost in the last year due to the housing crisis on Cape Cod. We have lost medical physicists in oncology. We have lost infection control professionals. Many of them signed, couldn't find housing, and reneged on their offers. We lost a physician at JML Long-Term Nursing Care in Falmouth. We've lost hospital RN managers, both at Cape Cod Hospital and Falmouth Hospital. We cannot find and recruit associates within our HR departments. Travelers, nurses, CNAs state they would stay, but they cannot find suitable housing, and will lose some due to not being able to find even temporary housing. Support services staff also included housekeepers, food service staff, maintenance, and etc. We hear even from our students at the high school levels that they plan to move away due to not being able to afford anything on Cape Cod once they graduate. This is very common. Being an architect and a former city planner myself, I'm aware of having the adequate and appropriate housing is paramount to community development at all levels. I have never once created any roadblocks in my career to the development and or reuse of properties for the advancement of housing of any sort, but assisted to ensure that the project moved forward within all possible reasons. Thank you very much, and Cape Cod Healthcare is in support of the Wilkins Project. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, what about you, sir? Okay.
So good evening, everyone. So first and most important, thank you for your service to our community. My name is Catherine Ledeck. I live in Barnstable Village. While I'm the town of Barnstable's representative to the Cape Cod Commission, the comments I make today are my own and do not represent any organization. I'm here to hopefully help us focus in on what seems to be some missing elements with this project. I sent in a set of comments that I hope you all had a chance to review. I'm not going to read those, but some of these remain unresolved and support comments made by many members of the public who have come before you on this project. It's my understanding that the special permit will require that the ZBA agree that this project does not represent a significant detriment to the public good in our neighborhood. I support the project generally, but there are just some missing elements and details I think that could still be improved. In my opinion, flooding the market with 270 market rate units where there's no clear market-based evidence of need is a significant detriment to our neighborhood. Flooding the market with 270 market rate units is a detriment. Many members of the public have testified on our community's need for more affordable and workforce housing. Some on market rate housing, but a lot on affordable and workforce housing. We still need to prevent all apartment units from becoming seasonal rentals. While the one-year lease that the applicant noted is helpful, that doesn't prevent somebody from coming in and renting a unit for one whole year, because it's cheaper to rent a unit for 1 year than it is to rent a summer place that has a swimming pool. 15.6%, that's a really good start and shows a willingness to negotiate. Thank you to the applicant for that. As mentioned in my written comments, in my opinion, we deserve at least 25% affordable and workforce housing. We deserve what the town of Plymouth is getting in a similarly sized project currently under review, 25% affordable and workforce housing. I have heard in all of these meetings no really good reasons why the project has not increased affordable and workforce housing to 25%. Other than a desire to protect the profit margin for the applicant. Your investment in our community needs to align with our needs. The applicant's own market analysis presented at the last ZBA meeting told us that there were 5 times more applications for the affordable and workforce housing units. There's no wait list for the market rate units. On solar, thank you for agreeing to install the solar. There are two missing elements. What about the garages? The garages have somewhat flat roofs. That's a great location for solar. What's also missing, and Mr. Alves, your question was not answered by the applicant, there's no community solar component. The residents will not benefit from this. Other points that were addressed by the applicant, thank you for addressing those, the emergency vehicle access point, the safe pedestrian crossings. What's missing is there's no dedicated bus stop. We have almost 600 apartments here. You have a ready-made rider base. You just have to pick up the phone and call the bus company to begin negotiations to bring a bus stop right on to Hanover 1 and to Hanover 2. I haven't seen that happen. I'm using my Gordon Starr town councilor voice here. Why hasn't the applicant acted on that? It's a phone call away. It needs to be a development condition that we don't have to walk a quarter mile or a half a mile up the street to get to the bus stop. I see other projects come forward all the time. The bus stops are negotiated in advance and are noted on the site plans, not in this case. I see some discussion about water. The issue of how much water will be used has not been independently verified. We are so close in that water district to the maximum allowable water draw that is possible. After this project, there may be no room for additional development in that water district. If the applicant's water draw puts us over the top of the maximum allowed under our existing permit, quite frankly, I don't know the implications of drawing more water than our permit allows. But I'm pretty sure it would be a big problem, and it would put all residents at risk in that water district. That's the water district where I live. I'm very concerned about that. I suggest we don't want to go there. Regular independent verification and regular reporting of what the applicant proposes their water to be and actual water draw should be reported on regularly, and that should be included as a development condition. How to move ahead. So I urge the establishment of legally binding development conditions. I must say, in my experience in another locality, all development projects that are not by right have pages and pages of development conditions. I think, in my opinion, the legal language should be in its final form before you approve it. I'm concerned that the chair is not here. Apologies to the vice chair. Thank you for taking over tonight. I'm concerned that the chair, who was heavily involved in the project, is not here to express his opinion. In my opinion, I think that you should continue the project for another 30 to 60 days to continue addressing the issues that I've raised here tonight. It's not just me asking for the improvements. You've heard from many members of the public on these topics and more. We look to you, the Zoning Board of Appeals, to lead the way to a better project for our community, one that is not a detriment to the public good in our neighborhood. Thank you for hearing my comments.
Thank you. Thank you to the board, Mr. Chairman. For the record, my name is John Lippman. I am the former Deputy Director of the Cape Cod Commission, and I have several letters from additional new supporters that I want to read brief excerpts from. But the first one is from the Greater Hyannis Chamber of Commerce. Marty Brummel cannot be here tonight, but he sent this for me to read. And I would emphasize that this is summer, people are working, and these letters, in my opinion, are as significant as any live testimony. And it reads as follows. On behalf of the Board of Directors of the Greater Hyannis Chamber of Commerce, we reaffirm our strong support for thoughtful, well-planned initiatives that address our region's urgent need for additional housing opportunities. Housing availability is critical to sustaining a vibrant local economy, retaining our workforce, and ensuring the continued vitality of the Hyannis area. The Wilkins Lane project represents the type of forward-looking, sustainable development our community needs. By adding to Barnstable's housing inventory in a responsible and strategic manner, this project will help balance the needs of residents, businesses, and future generations. The Greater Hyannis Chamber supports projects that not only create homes, but also encourage balanced residential and commercial growth, strengthen our tax base, and contribute to the long-term success of Hyannis as a place to live,
work, and visit. The Board of Directors proudly supports the next phase of the Wilkins Lane project and looks forward to working collaboratively with stakeholders to ensure its successful completion. And then we got a letter of support. Again, they could not be here tonight, and they did want to. This is from POA, or Preservation of Affordable Housing. There are 2 projects here in Hyannis. And it reads, Dear Zoning Board members, I'm just reading excerpts from this to keep things moving. Preservation of Affordable Housing, Inc., POA, is a Boston-based, mission-driven, nonprofit housing organization. POA has developed and manages over 14,000 housing units in 12 states, plus the District of Columbia, including more than 400 units on the Cape, 156 of which are at Cromwell Court and Founders Court in Barnstable. We believe that the region's housing crisis can only be addressed through the construction and preservation of housing of all types. It is in that spirit that I write today in support of Phase 2 of the Wilkins Lane project in Hyannis. This project is designed for the Cape's workforce, and I do want to emphasize that. This is workforce housing, and at least certainly in part, including teachers, healthcare employees, public safety workers, people in the building trades, and municipal employees who often cannot afford to live near the community that they serve and must commute daily from off-Cape. According to the most recent subsidized housing inventory by the Massachusetts Executive Office of Housing and Livable Communities, only 6.78% of Barnstable's housing stock is considered affordable based on EOHLC's definition. Phase 2's affordable units will make a meaningful impact on that metric, but more importantly, it will help ensure the continued economic vitality of Barnstable. From Corey Fellows, Vice President, Real Estate Development for Preservation of Affordable Housing. And finally, we have a letter, again, I'll be brief, from Cape Associates, who is actually building an affordable housing project, a number of locations, including Orleans right now. We are writing to express our strong support for the proposed housing project on Wilkins Lane in Barnstable. As a business that has been part of the Cape community for 54 years with an office located in Osterville and employing 120 dedicated team members, we have firsthand experience with the critical housing crisis facing our region. The lack of affordable and accessible housing options has not only made it challenging for individuals and families to establish roots here, but has also created significant obstacles for employers like us to attract and retain the workforce needed to sustain our operations. This housing project represents a vital step forward toward addressing these interconnected issues. Cape Cod is in desperate need of affordable housing, desperate need of increased housing options to support a robust workforce and a growing population. Since 2008, we have struggled to fill open roles, a problem that has only intensified over time. Many talented workers who want to live and work on Cape Cod simply cannot find suitable housing, forcing them to commute long distances or seek employment elsewhere. This is not just a business challenge, it is a threat to the long-term economic vitality of our region. By creating more housing units, the Wilkins Lane project will directly contribute to alleviating this crisis, enabling workers to live closer to their jobs and fostering a healthier and more dynamic local economy. While 40B projects and other publicly subsidized housing serve a vital role in housing our workers, those types of projects alone cannot solve the housing crisis. This innovative project, located on wastewater and water supply infrastructure close to the Cape's largest economic center, represents a critical step forward in solving our housing problems. The first phase of the project was very successful, and as you heard tonight, 150 applications received for the 36 affordable units there. And it was fully rented in just over a year. We urge the Board of Appeals to approve the Wilkins Lane project and prioritize the urgent housing needs of our community. Our business, along with countless others, depends on it. And let me just sort of say in conclusion here, also Ben Feller, who has spoken before, who has testified in support of this, who has lived with his family in Hyannis for many years, was not able to be here tonight due to family obligations, but he asked me to express his continued support for the project. In total, this project has been supported by speakers and written testimony on roughly a 3-to-1 margin from the roughly 30 individuals and organizations representing scores of working people who have had great difficulty finding affordable and workforce housing to live on Cape Cod, such as hospital employees, those in the trades, retail workers, affordable housing organizations, teachers, and so many more. Many of these individuals are living in Phase 1 of Wilkins Lane, reflecting very broad support for this project. And this is in addition to the Cape Cod community that testified before, the broader Cape Cod community, I should say, that testified before the Cape Cod Commission, earning the project a unanimous and enthusiastic commission approval. This is indeed a regional issue. This project will add 42 additional housing units, as we heard tonight, possibly 50, for a total of between 78 and 86 between Phase 1 and Phase 2 combined. And hundreds more of middle-price units. That is workforce housing. More importantly, this is being done with no public funding and a net revenue to the town after estimated expenses, as you heard earlier, so I won't repeat it, of $500,000 per year. And we have repeated testimony from the Housing Assistance Corporation, Representative Rob Brennan, who testified last time and could not be here tonight, and a letter of support from Alyssa Magnotta from HAC, in addition to a letter from Penrose, Inc., which is an affordable housing developer, and the letter that I just read from POA. We have a rare opportunity to build a large number of workforce and affordable units on water and sewer infrastructure near employment centers, public transportation, and retail, with a financial gain for Barnstable. And this isn't magic. It's good public policy. And thanks to the town of Barnstable for enacting this bylaw, the appeals board and the input from the public that we've heard have made this a better project. The developer of this project has gone to great lengths to abide by it, by these conditions, to try to seek ways to bring even more benefits to the project. And I would respectfully request that you approve this project tonight, and I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
How you doing, Eric Schwab, Hyannis? You know who is not here tonight is any civic association. Do you see any civic associations? There are plenty of business organizations here because this is a good deal for business. The question before you, though, is this a good deal for the community? Is this a good deal for us? I think you guys have done a phenomenal job, and you finally started the negotiation. They came to the table. They made an initial offer. They upped the affordable. They magically found $244,000 for a sewer connection fee that we've been advocating for. But let's talk about what the community wants. The community wants 25% affordable. There's no question. That's what they want. You can go online. I run a couple different forums. We ran polls. People expect 25%. Now, if we have to pay for that extra 10%, then we have to pay for it. But, you know, people want 25%. Folks are very concerned about the water. And I do think you have to independently verify the water usage, because we all know that a new well, costs no less than $5 million, probably closer to 20. Okay, so if they're going to use up the last of the water up there, and we have to start sinking new wells, then, you know, it's going to have a little bit more of an impact than they're suggesting. I also think that these are good people and that they'll come to an agreement with us. But I think it's important that you not take the first offer. And that's what this is. This is the first offer. So I encourage you, I know this is painful. I know it's the middle of the summer. I know none of us want to be here. But if you just hold on a little bit longer, I think it'll be well worth the effort. And I think the community will be very, very appreciative of your diligence. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Heather Swenson. I live in Centerville. The only thing I want to say is please, please, please be sure that our sewer can handle this and that our water can handle this. I believe I heard there's over 1,000 apartment units total coming to just Barnstable alone. So water and sewer, most important thing for our town. And just please be sure that whatever they're proposing, we can support. That's it.
Thank you.
Hi, Roberta Mock, and I want to thank everyone for the hard work they put into all of this, because we're living in trying times for sure. I moved to the Cape to get away from crowds. It's finally more crowded here than it is in over the bridge. I'm thinking about moving just to get away from this now. It's so bad. I had a friend take me for a ride. I felt bad for the sports car because the sports car would cost $550,000. And I said, Al, while you're at it, let's go down the east end of town. I want to show you what's going on down there. And the poor car wants to go fast, fast. Before those buildings all get, I mean, you can't even get through the east end of town. And we've got that Cascade, we've got the bank. And they're putting cookie cutter buildings, ugly. It's not why I moved to Cape Cod, is all these cookie cutter high density, like what they put at the Navy base in Weymouth, where I grew up. I'd cry to see that. But I want to see more conservation of what makes Cape Cod beautiful. And I miss the ebb and flow of it getting quiet in the wintertime here. I don't want to see Cape Cod become Miami. I don't want to see Hyannis become Miami. I feel unsafe. If we were ever to have a really bad need to evacuate, how are we all going to get out of here? I mean, we have to think about safety. I mean, one-time fees are great. I mean, you know, it's like the carrot to the town. But when the town gets sued for nitrates and in dead zones in the ocean and all the things that we're dealing with right now, because everybody wants to live here. Everyone wants a piece of Cape Cod. It's a beautiful place, but let's not destroy it by overbuilding it. Let's remember how important it is to respect nature, and we're not. We're not. We're building buildings that just look like prisons. Why? That's not how our past generations that had beautiful neighborhoods that meant that were. It's just, we need to take our time with this, please. Thank you.
Could you indicate what town you live in, please?
I think she said no.
I'm in Hyannis on
Thank
Sturts
you.
Creek.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Hello. I've spoken to you guys at the last two meetings. I just want to thank the board and also New England Development. My name's Kat Stewart. I'm a resident of Hyannis, former resident of Barnstable Village. So after moving from Brooklyn last summer, as I've mentioned in the last two meetings, I took up housing both with my parents, with friends. I found short-term housing, and I've finally managed to find an apartment to rent year-round. And I'm not kidding when I say I'm paying Brooklyn prices. And it also took a really long time. I realized that the attitude that a lot of people take is if you want to live here, just make more money. But that's not the reality anymore. We make money differently now. Jobs are different. Live-work environments are different. And the reality is there's a growing population that does not, that wants to live here on Cape where we work. The we that I'm referring to that needs both long-term shelter and short-term shelter is not just the obvious nurses and teachers and somebody like me who works in real estate and works other jobs on the side to make ends meet, but it's artists like my friends in summer theater productions and chefs and nannies and employees of the local bookstores and thrift stores. We all contribute. I think like the way that I mentioned, I planned the 4th of July parade. Like we all contribute to the enrichment of these places that we call home. And we have to be able to afford to live here. So beyond just talking about myself, I also, because it's not just the 30-somethings that I represent, I have a letter that I want to read briefly from a friend of mine who's not a 30-something, and he wanted to be here tonight, but he can't. So on behalf of him, I'm going to read this and submit it. So to the Board of Appeals, my name is Mark Waters. I am one of the head coaches for the Cape Cod Swim Club, which has been a staple of youth athletics on Cape Cod for more than 50 years. I moved back to Massachusetts and took residence on Cape Cod more than 8 years ago. I was lucky enough to find a year-round rental, although even in 2018, the choices of suitable rentals was very sparse and required me to make a decision in less than 48 hours. 3 years ago, my oldest child moved to the Cape for work and to attend college part-time, which made housing stability even more critical to my life on Cape. I would have continued to rent my condo had the owner not informed me of his intent to sell the property in early May, giving me the choice of either finding a rental or purchasing the property within 60 days. In the process of exploring my living options on the Cape, it became obvious that the cost of rentals had increased almost 40% since I came to the Cape, and the cost of homeownership had increased by more than 50%, which far outpaced any small increase in salary I had received. I am lucky enough that my savings were enough to purchase my condo, but it had introduced a more intense financial burden to my ability to support a life I love on Cape Cod and created a need to simplify my life. My story is not unique, as I am connected to teachers, nurses, retail workers, nonprofit employees, and other coaches who all have similar stories of struggling to afford rent or a mortgage on their incomes. They also talk of the inability to manage these costs should any life situation arise that they could not financially prepare for such like an illness or layoffs. The lack of affordable housing has real consequences for our businesses, our kids, our elderly, and the broader community. The proposed project would bring much-needed affordable housing to our area. I support the Wilkins Lane special permit, not just for today's workforce, but for the long-term health and strength of our community. Yours truly, Mark Waters. So to reiterate, that is a letter I'm reading on behalf of Mark Waters of Hyannis, Massachusetts. And honestly, he couldn't have said it better. I also just, again, vehemently support this project. And I, too, am a resident of Hyannis, former resident of Barnstable Village. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Catherine Fingenstad. I'm a resident of West Barnstable. I had a whole thing prepared on the septic system, but you guys addressed that. It seems that money can be thrown at a lot of things and be somewhat solved. I do take up issue with the water. I think yesterday approached level 2, or we are now at level 2 drought here on Cape Cod. That's 2 levels below or above emergency. I don't know, there are currently, as I understand it, 936 developments in construction in Hyannis right now. So I don't feel there is any shortage of growth. I feel that there is a shortage. Everybody's talking about this development as if it's going to offer this miraculous solution to housing here. And I don't know that many people can earn what this development charges at market rate. And I do not understand, it has not been presented as to where the people that can pay these rents are coming from. I house traveling nurses. They have told me that their stipends have been cut. Therefore, my rent for them decreases because I understand the importance of having these crucial first responders available to us. I feel that our focus needs to be a legacy. Yes, there's an aging population here, but that aging population does pass away. And we were founded in 1639, and I do feel that there's a perspective in terms of growth, progress and growth that can be adapted to appreciate the history of this environment. We are a shrinking island. We're a shrinking island in terms of our geographic mass, but we're growing in terms of our input on the island. And there needs to be a balance, I think, between the two, because it seems to me that there's exponential growth compared to the shrinking erosion that is physically happening on this island. Our legacy can be that we approve buildings that aesthetically and geographically are appropriate, that also fit within conservation. Green buildings should be, I wish that Chairman Dewey was here as well, because he, as Mr. Shepley has said, is a builder who builds affordable housing. He comes from a perspective where he understands each nail, panel, solar, everything, and has a very unique perspective on this. I was better prepared in my speech, but all of this, with everybody speaking about how this is going to offer such a great opportunity and open up so much housing, I feel is a misnomer in terms of the general pricing. I can't speak, I won't speak to what the pricing is, but I've heard it's very high. So I know that as a homeowner here, I couldn't afford their rent. So that's as much as I have to say. My concern is with the septic and the water specifically. So I think in terms of the zoning, that is my main issue, is that the studies are done on the water and the water use for the facility. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening. My name is Betty Lutke. I'm a resident of Hyannis, and thank you for the opportunity, and thank you again for your time that you've spent on this important project. Just as Catherine Fingenstadt said, I had more prepared, but a lot of people have already echoed that, so I won't duplicate it. I will kind of pop out some things that people have said. Mr. Nitzwicki said 92% of our employers have 20 or fewer employees. That says a lot, that 92%, that we're really a small business community and probably not getting the salaries. The salaries have been mentioned and the cost of these apartments, with the preponderance being market rate. And with that, and we've had a lot of cheerleaders here tonight, as we've had before. They said this is a sustainable development. It's an innovative project. I don't know about that. I don't think you have to be, rah-rah. I'm not opposed to this project. My goodness, I'm just trying to make it better, and I think we all are. So I think it's too easy to say I'm in support of this and that's it. We're all in support of providing the housing that we need to keep Barnstable a viable, vibrant community. Another startling statistic was in the CFAC report. This really jumped out at me. In Wilkins 1, they have 9 students. In all of Wilkins 1, there's 9 students. 5 are new, and 4 were already in the Barnstable Public Schools. And that goes back to Mr. Nitzwicki, too, who talked about becoming a hollowed-out community. I would say Wilkins 1 is leading the charge, the canary in the coal mine of a hollowed-out community. Why do we only have 9 students in that enormous building? That's frightening to me. And why is it? Why is it that we have that? Is it the prices are too high for families? Is it because there's too many 1-bedrooms and 2-bedrooms? So as we look at this, and we haven't mentioned it, we've talked about 8 more affordable. I applaud that. I don't know that that AMI is right. I don't know that maybe 110 or 120. I'd like to see a better analysis on that. I'm very afraid, and Manny, you brought it up, it's a blank check. And Catherine Leduc brought it up. There should be a lot more fidelity in these agreements before you approve it. And I understand what Attorney Ford said. He says he feels he can't talk to them until he has this. So, we've got to catch 22. But somehow we have to resolve that, and that's where you come in to do that. But maybe we need to look at more 3-bedrooms so we could get more than 9 students maybe in the second one. That's frightening to me. Thank you, Attorney Ford, for mentioning the change from the Cape Cod Commission. I frankly find that disturbing. You had agreed to go to the stretch code. Things are dynamic. I know the stretch code has been dynamic. The town council, we're taking up the stretch code here. I don't know what the votes are. I haven't counted the votes. I know my vote. I will support the stretch code. I think it's important. Barnstable hasn't bought into it. So wouldn't that be ironic that we approve the stretch code and then this large building is opting out of the stretch code? I'd like to know how much money you're saving by opting out of the stretch code. You must have that figure. I think that's important to know as we look at that, that breakdown of funds. How much money are you saving by not having to do the stretch code is compared to how much, for the Affordable Housing Trust would pay you. I think that would be an interesting analysis. Let's see. It's again, so many good speakers on all sides. As I say, I absolutely applaud the people who come up here and say in the support of it. I'm in support of it too. But it has to be better. And thank you so much for the solar. Oh, and there was a question. And we need more fidelity on this. That, Mr. Tui, you said that the renewables are cheaper. Now, here's kind of how it works. Not the expert, but it's kind of how it works. But again, I would like you to bring more expertise to this, since we heard that you can opt out. So I'm the renewable guy, I'm the solar guy. So I'm coming into the distributor, I'm saying, I'm going to bid $0 for my energy. So that goes to his point. They're going to be the cheapest. I'm going to bid 0. Now you say, that's stupid. Why are they bidding 0? They're bidding 0 because they know they don't have enough percentage to service the requirement, the need for electricity. So the coal-fired guy knows his expenses. He knows them down. So he says, I'm coming in at 13.5. And then somebody else, the natural gas guy, they know their expenses. So he says, I'm coming in at 15. Well, guess what? As soon as the power is needed, everybody gets the highest guy's number. So that's why the renewable guys are cheapest, because they know that. So they'll come in lower. But again, I'm not the expert. This was explained to me by someone who works in the area. So I would really think you need to understand that, to understand these numbers on what this means. And when they are paying in, from what I understand, that money goes to help support the renewable folks, few of which are in the state of Massachusetts. We do have some solar, some other stuff, some nuclear here and there. But a lot of it's probably going to Texas to help them. I don't mind helping Texas because they're building renewables. But just let's think about that in terms of the good that we do. We had quite a bit of controversy and interest in wind farms. Was going to be a huge renewable source. We still have one under construction. I support the construction of that. I want to get the data on that wind farm. I really want to understand that. I'd like to do more renewables. And again, hallelujah for the solar. The town of Barnstable has solar on top of their transfer station. We have solar at the airport. We make quite a bit of money on that solar. And again, congratulations to you for joining the band. Solar has become quite economical and a very good source. So I concur with a lot of the speakers. I support the project. I absolutely do. I want it better. And I think you need more fidelity. And you have too many blank checks you're signing tonight. You just do. I don't think you can do it, but it's your decision. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Tim Mahoney. I just want to tell you, I met my wife here, got the license down the street at the old courthouse, got married here, moved away because of my job, and I live in Sandwich. So I don't live here, but this is the center of our universe, medically, health-wise, shopping. So many things. We need to come to Hyannis, Route 132, and Hyannis, the airport, really plays a special role on the Cape. There's just nowhere else like it. So we come here, and it's important to us. And so this is important to me because as a parent, I talk about need, and we keep hearing about statistics about who's coming and how many people have to come across the bridge every day, and that's true. But our children can't afford to come back here, work here, and raise a family here. My greatest investment is in my children, my greatest investment is in the schools that we help pay for taxes and the time we put into it. It's my loss. It's your loss. It's everybody's loss here when the children that we educate can't come back here, can't afford to live here. My grandchildren can't be closer here. Yeah, it hurts. Is this going to solve it? No, not entirely. But we got a desperate need for housing. If you go on Facebook and you look at the pleas for people looking for housing also so they can keep their children in a school system, it's really sad. If you see people now renting out, there's always people that take advantage of things, people renting out rooms in houses with shared kitchen and TV privileges. The boarding house is back. This is horrible. I never thought I'd see a boarding house in my lifetime. But that's kind of what's happened here. And we need to address it. We need to have both workforce housing. We need to have affordable housing. I wish there was a way that the towns, the county, whoever could come up with more money so that there could be more of it. But this is an important component that they're going to build as well as regular housing. If the other apartments are going to flood the market, we heard what the professionals said, that's going to drive down the prices. So maybe that's not a bad thing. We desperately need the housing. The other impact is on our businesses, and you've heard about that. I'm not going to go into it again. But there's also a big impact on the people who are working here. And particularly since Hyannis is a different place, we have a lot of national and regional retailers who are here. They're constantly bringing people in and out. Why do they do that? It's the way that people in the retail business, when you're managing a store, it's the way that you work your way up the corporate chain. You move to a store, you go to another store that might have a different need, might be more challenging to operate, maybe you want to become a regional manager, you move up. The retailers need to be able to move people in and out. That's what they do. It's how they benefit the workers. So I would strongly support the additional housing being built here. I would also say that it's an appropriate place. Let's be honest, it sits down off of 132. It's an old quarry. It's a mining area. It's hardly visible until you go down, I think, and you get into the Costco parking lot. It doesn't affect the historic character of any of our areas. And in fact, it's an improvement over what you look at down there now with the auto repair garages, some older, one-story kind of butler-type buildings for offices. It's a real improvement. So I think it's something that we need to support. It's good for us. It's good for the county. I just have one more thing. A friend of mine, his name is Bob Eccles. He's the executive director of the Cape Cod Technical Foundation. He teaches students and programs at the Cape Cod Regional Technical High School. He asked that I deliver this letter to you. I'll just read it quickly. Many of our students are from Barnstable. I've spoken before in support of our talented young graduates and of the need for more workforce and affordable housing. I can't be here tonight, blah, blah, blah. It continues to sadden me to see so many talented young people having to leave the Cape due to rising housing costs. Our young workers, our young graduates, paid well in the trades, often live with parents or friends when hired out of school, but eventually have to move off the Cape to find an affordable place to live. Many of them commute daily back here to the Cape. They love the Cape, but they just can't live here. For the record, the first phase of the Wilkins project has indeed offered housing to those in trades healthcare, retail, restaurant businesses, and the like at rates affordable to them. Please support this project. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, just so you know, there's 2 new letters in the meeting materials that.
Yep. I read them earlier.
Okay, great.
Do you want me to read those in, by the way? In their entirety? Great. Yes.
Hi, everybody. Charlie Bloom, Hyannis. You know, we can speak about this project, but I'm also here to speak about future projects. I agree with Mr. Schwab. We need at least 25%. I would say we even need more than 25% affordable. I hear this project being described as a project for workforce housing and affordable housing. Oh, come on. How many units of market rate housing is this project producing? We've heard a lot of fine people speak today. A lot of organizations are all for this, this project. Fine, good. I'm sure this project will eventually go through, but we have to think about the future of this town. My precinct is Precinct 9 in Hyannis. I've been speaking to a lot of people in the last 2 years, and 2 of them, just 2, think that this housing thing that we're doing is good for the town. Now, businesses might think it's good for the town. Organizations might think it's good for the town. But the people in my precinct overwhelmingly think that we are going down the tubes, that we're building buildings that have no character. They're afraid that Hyannis is going to become, it's bad enough as it is, traffic going up to the Rotary. What's going to happen when we put the 3 or 4 more projects on Barnstable Road that are going to be full of cars? Boy, it's going to be a mess with traffic. So, we have a big problem in the town of Barnstable. The town recently, and you can talk to Jim about it if you question my numbers. More or less, we need 700 affordable units built in this town to meet the town's goal for affordability, for inclusive housing, the state's requirement. We need 700 units. That means we need to build 6,300 units at market rate. Where are we going to put all this housing? That's for the future. But, you do what you feel is the right thing to do with this project, and, I will support your decision. But we really have to start thinking about where we're heading and how much housing is going to be market rate, and how much we need affordable and truly affordable and workforce housing. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, friends. As I like to say to the town council when I speak, your favorite John Julius from Hyannis. I've been here a long time, many years, been at this podium year after year, going back before the year 2000. And I'll reiterate that in 1988, the town council back then implemented a building moratorium, and I'm going to keep saying building moratorium until the cows come home. That was 1988. They did that because they thought building was out of control. Out of control? Okay, I'll get back to that in a minute. But what I want to begin with, very quickly, a prior speaker tonight mentioned the average price of a home on Cape Cod around $750,000. He's right, in 2025. I've sold in my real estate career in excess of 6,000 homes. Even though right now I'm about 99% retired, I still like to follow. So the $750,000 price tag on a home on the Cape is accurate. What was not accurate was the prior speaker said that a mortgage payment would be around $7,000. Well, it's not. It's around $4,300. Still expensive. I get that. Okay. Another thing I want to start with is Vilvio bifidus is what it is. I'll get back to that in a minute. Sorry for the mispronunciation, but I want to get back to that because it's very important. I'd like to start tonight by a misconception and misinformation. Everybody runs around, including some of the prior speakers, that, oh, the state has this mandate, it's a law, you have to have 10% affordable housing. What a lot of hogwash. In fact, that's a lie, it's a misconception. To me, it's a scam, the 10%. It's a scam on the part of the Mass Legislature and our idiotic governor up there on Beacon Hill. And I'll tell you why. Because 10% affordable housing will never be achieved. All you need to do is some simple math. I wrote a letter in the Cape Cod Times 2 years ago in March. Of the 351 cities and towns in Massachusetts in March 2 years ago, 76 had achieved the affordable housing 10%. 76 out of 351 cities and towns. You know what it was this afternoon? 51. Imagine that. The total number of cities and towns in the Commonwealth to achieve 10% affordable housing actually went from 76 down to 51. You don't want to know why? Because the stupid math. When builders go in and they build 300 units and they only give 10 or 12 or 15 or 18 affordables, you'll never achieve it. You'll only go backwards. These are some stats for you on Cape Cod. 3 years ago, Provincetown was the only town on the Cape that had 10%. In fact, they had 10%, 10.2%. Today I looked, and you know what? Provincetown, their affordable percentage is 8.03. So they went down for the simple reason I just gave you, because the Commonwealth could care less. And that's not a statute that you have to have 10%. It's a mere dream recommendation set by the governor and all the wannabe people up there who dream this. So of the 15 towns on the Cape, 0 have 10%, 0. How about the town of Weston, Mass, or Needham, or Wellesley? People say, oh, you know, nothing against anybody, but I hear it just continually. Oh, my kids can't afford to live here. Well, you think the people in Weston or Needham or Wellesley, we're not going to solve this affordable housing. You're not going to, I'm not going to. It's simply supply and demand. And of the towns on the Cape, 8 have less than 5%. So I want to give you some other rough numbers, and then I want to get on to my real concerns. But here are some numbers for you. Within downtown Hyannis, total number of units is 733. We're talking within Hyannis, 733 units. Of the 733, only 129 are affordable. Gee, I guess I solved that, huh? Yeah, we proved that you're not going to go backwards. That's just within downtown Hyannis. Now, not within Hyannis, you have a total of 993 units, and of the 993, 124 affordable. So prior speakers have come up here and they've had the same concern I do, or at least one or two of them did. Water and sewer. We cannot handle the water. I own property in Yarmouth, and Yarmouth shut our water off at one of our condo complexes, of which I'm the chairman of the board. Yarmouth shut our water off, and last I knew, Hyannis was buying water from Yarmouth. So somebody had better start paying attention and keep your eye on the ball, because we're going to run into some serious problems with water and sewer. Those are going to be serious problems. And look, I have nothing against this developer, but I think we need to look at this and stop it. You know, they come in tonight, I looked up at the board, and they say they're going to give $83,000 funds toward the fire district for a building that's going to house about 1,000 people. $83,000? I can go find you 10 homeowners right now in Barnstable Village, and they're paying $100,000 between 8 homeowners. And so we have a builder who wants to come in and build 1,000 units, and their claim is, hey, we're heroes because we're going to give that. $83,000 is not enough, nor is the one-time fee of $500,000 for a building that's going to house probably 1,000 people. So the last thing that I'll leave you with is that Vibrio phthirisis. That's the flesh-eating disease that came up on my radar about a month ago. It killed, to date, 4 people, 7 other people seriously injured. That's a bacteria-eating disease, and guess where they found it on Cape Cod? If you haven't heard, Old Silver Beach. Well, damn it, I have a concern, because the last time I was here, I mentioned to all of you that Lewis Bay was closed to shellfishing 2 years ago in January. And I had a concern then, and then last July, 19,000 contaminated oysters out in Lewis Bay had to be recalled, and a lot of people got sick. So you know something? I'm telling you right now, I have serious concerns and doubts. I know for a fact that sewage treatment plant, people can tell me I'm crazy. People do it all the time. But you know what? There's a problem with that sewer treatment plant. And that plume is going right out to Lewis Bay, and that's what's causing the problem. And you know what? Massachusetts, within the last 3 to 4 weeks, had close to 50 beaches across the Commonwealth closed. How would any of you or anyone in this room feel if you came to Cape Cod and you paid $8,000 for 2 weeks vacation or a week's vacation, and you went down to your favorite beach, like I live right around the corner from Keys Beach about 2 weeks ago, and drove by and it was closed? That's a disgrace. And we need to back up, consider a building moratorium, and stop. Enough is enough. Thank you again for listening to me, and most importantly, somebody mentioned it earlier, I give you guys a hell of a lot of credit for having to sit here and endure, and maybe sometimes people like myself come and get a little overly passionate, let's say. But I'm here because I care, and I've been doing this, coming into this building now since before the year 2000. I won't say I'm tired of it. I don't like coming here, but I come here for only one reason. I've said it year after year, because I care. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you. Okay, before I impose a time limit, you won't be long, will you?
Oh, I hope not.
Thank you. We all appreciate that.
I'm going to try to make it brief. I'm going to read a letter from somebody who couldn't be here, but I'm going to synopsis it. Her name is Liz Friedman. She was a...
I'm sorry, for the record, can you just introduce yourself, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Paige Whiteley-Tivnan. I'm 16 generations back on Cape Cod from the Mayflower, so I can understand when people are saying that there's been huge changes. If I could have stopped people coming 50 years ago, I would have, but you can't stop people from coming. You can't say, I'm here, nobody else can come. It's just, you just can't. Okay, so anyway, so I'm sorry, I'm reading for Liz Friedman. She was For 3 years, she was the principal of Barnstable High. She said one of her greatest challenges has been in hiring talented educators and staff, always with deep concern as to whether they would be able to stay on Cape Cod due to the high cost of housing. Let me see what else she talks about. So the Wilkins Lane project will bring much-needed affordable housing to our area. I ask you to approve this special permit, not just for today's workforce, but for long-term health and strength of our schools and community. So today, this is just an example, let's make it human. I signed a P&S on a condo that was used by a restaurant group who were putting up their workers in the condo, in the 2-bedroom condo. They probably had like 8 people staying there from, you could tell from the way they were doing it. And I was told that the condo came on the market because the restaurant group brought 2 motels, and they're converting them for their workforce housing. So there is a need for housing, and when people say, people will go in and it won't trickle down, it does trickle down, because it gave me this opportunity after looking for years to finally get a property, because it became available because they found, but these are business owners who are buying properties to put their people up in. Let me see. So also I have an example of someone, when we're talking about workforce, yes, everybody's talked about that, but it's also for citizens too. A lot of my older neighbors who could not keep up with their big homes anymore, and the fact that the prices of homes have gone up, they're looking at moving. They don't want to go into like assisted living. They don't need that. But I know some of them have moved into the apartments that New England Development has done over in the industrial park. And they're loving life because they don't have to have lawns and landscapers and all that. And their homes opened up to go to people who need them for workforce housing. So it does trickle down. I really believe it does. And people were talking about the water, and I get that. I get the water, I get the sewage, but also we can't look at only solving them from people. We have to look at other things that we're doing. Like we could be moving more like Nantucket's moving, no fertilizers, no irrigating your lawn. I mean, how many people are here for 2 weeks in the summer of their big, beautiful houses in Chatham, and how much lawn do they have? Like, we can restrict that. It doesn't always have to be about the citizens giving up things. We can give up lawns and such. So the other thing that will change a little bit of the numbers when people were talking about numbers is a new ADU policy. Because now Massachusetts has passed that when you have an ADU, it doesn't have to necessarily be like affordable housing. It just has to be long-term housing. So, we can play the statistics numbers, but the whole thing is, I have friends who rent to traveling nurses, traveling pharmacists. One has an intern that's studying environmental stuff for the year. And I've done it myself, and I've had like CVS Pharmacy call me and say, hey, can we take your house for a year because we need to put our pharmacists somewhere for the summer. And yeah, there just isn't housing. I mean, I know Cape Cod Hospital, I talked to a doctor who's on, because I'm a nurse too, who's on the recruiting, for recruiting new doctors. And he said the last applicant who they had hired or that they made an offer couldn't do it because of the housing. And people all think doctors are rich, but they come out of medical school with enormous amounts of debt. So unless they're established, they're not coming here, and we really need them. And I think that's about it. I don't want to keep anybody longer, but I am in support of this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, if that's it, I have a couple letters here in, let's see, I'll read the kind of mixed opinion one first. That's from, it is from Robert Schulte of Centerville, Mass. I'm going to see if I can kind of skim through this a little bit because it's 2 pages long, single spaced, and he goes into a lot of the issues that we already talked about, the economic analysis, CFAC. Phone. And he goes into the number of percentage of affordable units. He thinks there should be 20 to 25%. He goes into the sewer connection, sewer fees, basically mentions that residential homeowners have to pay a $10 connection fee.
10,000, sorry.
Excuse me?
It's a $10,000 connection fee.
Oh, what did I say?
$10.
Oh, $10. Don't I wish? Am I getting tired? Could be. He was talking about, this is a good point I've thought about, the establishment of a preference for local residents, prohibits seasonal rentals, solar power, emergency access, pedestrian access, public transportation, water use management. So that is pretty much what he went into. And I think we've addressed a lot of this here. Then the other letter is from Wendy Cullinan, as President and CEO of Habitat for Humanity. She is very much in support of this. If anybody's interested, they can read these letters on the Laserfish on the town website. But she talks about the demand for affordable housing and Habitat for Humanity's place and all that. And so basically she's in support. Unless there's anyone else. I don't know if I want to close public comment. If we're not going to continue this, right? I don't see any need to do that.
Why wouldn't?
But so, do we have any discussion about any of these comments?
Attorney Ford may want to.
Well, would you like to discuss the comments at all?
Probably wants to respond.
Just briefly, because I think a lot of these are issues that you've been hearing about and talking about, and we tried to address with the proposed conditions, but just a couple of things that are more factual than opinion. Mr. Alves asked if we had a plan of the solar, and we did. And I think it's on this computer. We just didn't have it to be able to get up here. Happy to just give it to the chairman. You can look at it if you'd like, but we'll get you one for the record.
The verbal description was good enough for me, but if you want to show it.
Mr. Chairman, with your permission, I apologize to people in the audience. You had asked about everything that's shown here in the dark black color along the south and southeast is all solar. So that's on the 5 buildings. I know a comment was made about the garage. You know, garages, I mean, you can tell given the size.
Yeah, they're minuscule compared.
But it virtually is taking all of each one of those south and southeast facing areas and turning into solar. Everything that's shown in the dark black color is all solar.
I'm kind of glad to see you responded to that in such a short amount of time.
Well, I actually emailed the solar engineer. I said, I know he was working on the plan. I said, could you send it?
Well, that's great.
We'll get that to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Secondly, there was a comment from Ms. Ledke about a bus stop. The Cape Cod Commission decision, condition or finding number 41, discussed that in detail and found that there were bus stops 0.3 of a mile, 0.4 of a mile away from the site that are only 6 minutes walking. They encourage the applicant to get a hold of the CCRTA because they have certain limits as to when demand is such that they deem it to be a bus stop. And we view that as part of our requirement of F41. We intend to get a hold of them, have them come out, check it, see what it is. But if it meets their demand, we certainly think that's a good idea. I just wanted to let you know that was already in the Cape Cod Commission decision. I don't want to misrepresent it. It doesn't say that there shall be a bus stop. She was encouraging us. I just wanted to let her know, because I know she was part of the folks who voted for this decision, that we intend to follow through on that, get them out. If the demand is at that level, we'll get the bus stop. As simple as that. I know Mr. Tuig wants to address a couple of things, but I was just going to make 2 comments about water and sewer. And what we've done, both through the entire Cape Cod Commission process and now through site plan review and now through this process, is to work very closely with the water department. They have determined that there is adequate water supply. Now, they have an engineering firm that works just for them. Everything we gave them in terms of our proposed water usage, and we gave them the actual usage from Hanover 1, which was very important to them, they analyzed in coming to the determination that there was sufficient water. So, I mean, they actually have their own engineers who look at everything, and that's who we've dealt with on the water. And I would suggest to you they've been very careful about it. And when we go and apply for our water permit, we still need to go through their water balance program where all of this stuff gets looked at again in terms of water usage and is kept track of. On the sewer, we did a similar analysis with your Department of Public Works. They wanted us to look very closely at capacity within the system, within the collection system, the pipes, the pumping station that lead to the sewer beds themselves. That's the model that they asked us to update. They had a model. They hadn't updated it in time. They didn't have the funds to update it. We did that. They took that model. They looked at it individually, and they made a conclusion that there is capacity. With respect to the ongoing use of the sewer system, we've tried to address that with our condition number 8 here tonight. But I mean, I kept hearing from all of these folks, water, sewer, water, sewer, water, sewer. With respect to the number of affordable units, I can only suggest to you that there is an ordinance, and the ordinance requires us to have certain minimum amounts. And so what we've tried to do, because we've heard that so often, is to go over that. And that's our condition number 7 that we've proposed and that we've talked about tonight. And hopefully we can come to some agreement on that. But these are market rate housing projects that, because of the foresight of the council, had as a baseline 13% affordable. And so all of these units are coming on, with the exception of the 8, and we hope that those come on too. We believe they can, without any subsidy. Mr. Tuig, you were going to address a couple of matters.
Thank you, Attorney Ford. Just very briefly, a couple of comments that were made. Market demand, what is it? We leased this up tremendously faster than we ever anticipated would be done. I told the story at one of the meetings. I have to admit they kind of all go together, but we had done 12 leases in the first 15 minutes. I got a call from the leasing agent who said that one of the people who had signed their lease started to cry. And I said, "What did you do?" And he said, "Well, I started to cry because she realized for a few $100s more, she was going from effectively a 1978 walk-up 3-story into our first building in Wilkins." Just a life, in her view, a life-changing view. We're not at all concerned about the demand. When you realize that 25% of everybody who works at the hospital in Falmouth and Cape Cod are coming over the bridge every day, you just get a sense. And yes, that's a large employer. Most of the employers here are smaller. But you look at our mix, 66% of the people who moved into our first building are from the Cape, from this area, people who work for the towns, people who work in hospitality. We went through all that. I won't repeat it. But it just gives you a sense there is tremendous demand and need for that to happen. There was a discussion about, and I think it was Kathleen Dick mentioned, and she supported us at the Cape Cod Commission level, about the rental issue. People didn't want short-term rentals. That's why it's built into it. We must have more than a year. Very small percentage, could be 6 months for someone in transition. But that's not the kind of place, if you've been to our place, that's not the kind of place that we have. That's the place we kind of run. So that was done. When people talk about 25%, what they're really talking about, you can do a 25% deal, and it's a 40B. Which means we're going to change the issue. What does a 40B do? Well, it can actually change height, density, requirements, doesn't have to make a lot of the payments that you have to do. It's a very different project. We have done 40B projects, but we didn't think that's what was called for here. And it would be a different project that we're bringing forward. So we didn't want to do it, and we didn't do it. That's how you get to 25%. What we're trying to do, and I hope you see it. I mean, people made the comment, oh, well, they're just starting to negotiate. We actually try to listen, and we appreciate all the comments. We're not tone deaf. We heard the comments, the concerns. We've been working on this, if you think about it, for almost 5 years, from phase 1 to phase 2, through 2 Cape Cod Commission hearings, a lot of the same people and the same issues. We've been trying to address, and that's why you see a lot of the things that are already built in. And so we don't make the commitments lightly. We heard the sewer issue, the need for more capital. We're going to pay for that sewer, but what can you do to help support capital? Now, part of what every one of us who pays the sewer bill, part of that goes to capital. What else can you do for a contribution? And that's why, we had to really step back and say, can we do more units? Can we, in the affordable range? Okay, well, yeah, we can probably structure that. Can you do solar? Could we make a contribution? I mean, those are things that we struggled with and have been going back and forth, but it's because we respect what the board has said, and we respect everybody who has, even people who don't like the project. We tried to answer. That was what we were trying to do. Hopefully you see that we heard you, and I don't forget, and none of us do, how can you make this project better? And I hope you see that we tried. So, thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further discussion? Hi.
Yeah, so I just have a comment about the water and sewer. I think the town needs to rethink how they go about approving these developments. In this particular case, I guess the applicant, Attorney Ford, you had VHB do a report that you referred to just earlier, right?
A report, but then the town has.
Right, but then the town had it, yeah, and
The town has their own model.
right, their own, right, and they
and-
approved it, right?
Right.
They did approve it.
Yes.
And when I questioned one of the engineers on it, and I told them I didn't think it was a good idea the way they did it. I think that they should have done it. They should have initiated it, and it shouldn't have been done by an outside firm. But nonetheless, that's how they did it. And his response was, well, that's the way they've always done it. So I think for all the comments on the water and sewer, and they're well taken, I can't believe in my wildest that there is enough water and sewer capacity. But I guess on the sewer capacity, they just expand it. They have ways of just expanding it here, there, and everywhere. And I'm not quite sure how that works, but that's what they tell me.
Yeah.
So,
They have the existing capacity, was their
right,
conclusion.
okay, well, maybe, all right, I'll believe it, I guess. But
And they
anyway,
have a number
so,
of engineers that work for them.
right, okay.
Sewer engineers.
Yeah. So anyway, so that's just, in my opinion, goes back to the town and preparing for developments like this. And I think that their preparation would suit people approving it for the town, for the people of the town. And it should get out there so that the people of the town have a say in it before it even gets to the Zoning Board of Appeals. I think it's just, it always seems a day late and a dollar short, I guess, in terms of what we get at us for support and non-support. So I wish to see the town do something about getting the publicity of these projects out there, up front, first, okay? To find out if people really want it or they don't. Do we really want to increase? the population of Hyannis by that much? Well, there's a lot of other buildings going on as well. So, a lot of things have to be kept in balance.
Right.
And
this
I'm
project
not
has
sure
been the
who's
subject.
watching the store.
Yeah, this project's been the subject of
Right.
multiple public hearings.
Right,
uh,
right. No, I'm
over
sure,
the
I'm
last
sure it
18
has. I'm
months.
sure it has.
Right.
Yeah, I
Both
understand that.
regionally and in town.
Right, no, I understand that, and quite honestly, I think you people really do go above and beyond sometimes. I don't know how your patience holds up, but it does, so, of course. Anyway, and the other thing is, again, what, I think I want to comment on what Charlie Bloom said about, and he's right, this project may not be good for the town, but then again, maybe it is. I think that what we have to evaluate is and putting that together and getting a good outcome. So again, I just wish that sometimes the town would do things a little bit differently to make the eventuality much smoother. Thank you.
Understood, sometimes it's an imperfect process, but the zoning ordinance dictates what that process is.
Take a motion, close public hearing.
No. If I could, a quick question. Could you confirm, it was my understanding that Phase 1 had a conservative outlook on the water usage, and then once it was online, it was determined that the usage was approximately half of what was originally conservatively estimated. And in extrapolating out from that Phase 2 being approximately the same size would in fact not add additional capacity use based on that initial, if I'm saying this correctly, the initial estimates.
Mr. Chairman, just to answer your question, sentence. Title V and actual usage, that's really where you're going. What we originally predicted for Building 1 was based on a Title V. Title V, today, you're running a little less than about half of what Title V says versus what actual usage is.
Understand.
So when we originally presented the case of Building 1 could be X amount, and the actual is about 50% less of that, this is going to be about the same. So total of what we originally put into the system under Title V is about where we're going to end up with both buildings. I think that's what you're referring to.
That's what I'm asking.
Yep.
Okay, thank you. Did everybody get that?
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So they made for
They're up to
additional.
where they
They're up to
originally-
basically where they were, the full capacity at Phase 1.
Right.
Okay, thank you.
I'll take a stab at it. I appreciate the public comment as always. A lot of passion involved on both sides of the argument. A lot of, I think, confusion here regarding some numbers. I was very, sort of torn. I broke out my handy mortgage calculator when I heard those numbers about deposits and so forth. And that was very misleading information that was told to us. A $750,000 home, just real quick, 10% down. I can show you the math. You can do it yourself. $665,000 would be the principal, 6.75% interest rate over 30 years. The rent payment or the mortgage payment would be $4,300, give or take. Sorry?
15 years is what I use.
Well, that's not, but 15-year mortgages that's not standard practice. Anyway, regardless, the numbers don't make any sense.
More fiscally conservative.
Yeah, so again, then you look on the Hanover One website, right? And there's, again, so I have a house in my neighborhood at $750,000. You can look it up on Zillow. You go to Hanover One website, 1,469 square feet, $5,011 a month for a 3-bedroom unit. I'm sorry. Everybody that spoke, whether you were for or against this thing, talked about affordability. That was the number one word, affordability. The gentleman, for the former head of the commission, talked about affordability. Every letter he read talked about affordability. Mr. Shepley, you talked about affordability. Cape Cod Chamber talked about affordability. This is not affordable, period. So 15%, again, truly appreciate you hearing what the public comment, the comments from this board about raising that number up, adding 8 more units. I'm sorry. It does not cut the mustard, in my opinion. It just does not bring us to where we need to be. I'm 53 years old. We've been talking about housing on Cape Cod since before I was born. This has been a problem, supposedly, since 1972, April 28th, the day I came, as a child, infant. This is, again, we're never going to solve this problem. It's clear. But this is just, I'm sorry, it's not affordable. You can't, there's no piece of this that is affordable, minus those additional units. And I completely agree with John Julius that the number is going to shrink now instead of get better as we go forward. It's evidence. There's evidence of that happening. I can't see this, the struggle that we're going to face here and continually build ourselves into a bigger hole because of projects like this are going to, it does not equate. It does not equate to solving or helping the problem. Workforce housing is not market rate housing. The reason why restaurant groups are buying housing for their staff is because that is what they call workforce housing. This is not workforce housing. This is unaffordable. I would be better off buying a home than I would be by renting a unit. A family of a husband and wife, 2 children, need a 3-bedroom unit. It doesn't make sense. Now, I understand transient housing, apartment buildings and so forth are good for people that don't want to commit to living in an area for extended period of time, whatever those trends are, and I'm not pretending to know those, but yeah, I'm not going to get there. I will not get to a point where I can be in favor of this project until we get to see a number closer to 25%. And I don't want to dismiss the chairman's reading of Bob Schulte's letter, but Bob was tasked by the town. Part of the town council agenda was to form some subcommittees. He was the head of the zoning and housing sort of committee, and spent a lot of time with his group presenting evidence that this is. So I take what Bob Schulte said to heart, and again he's demanding or asking for a minimum of 25%. So unfortunately that's where I stand.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. Maybe, I don't know if we got the wrong title, affordable or not. If 90+% of Hanover 1 is rented, it must be affordable to somebody. If 60% or 70% of those residents are from Barnstable, it must be affordable to somebody here and useful to somebody here. So, as clerk of the board, I'd just like to make a statement, okay? We are the end of the road. The Zoning Board of Appeals is the end of the funnel, okay? Cape Cod Commission has had 6 public meetings on this, just the Cape Cod Commission, okay? It was initially submitted to them by the town of Barnstable in September and October of last year, 24. So it's been around the road a long time. Zoning Board of Appeals is a quasi-legal board. The appeal to us is to the Land Court of Massachusetts. We have cases there now. We've had tons of cases. We've had a lot of cases there before. As such, we're guided by specific things. Massachusetts General Law 40A, Town of Barnstable Code, the Town of Barnstable Zoning Ordinance, Section 240-125. We don't have a lot of leeway here to make things better. We have a leeway, we have an obligation to make a decision within the purview of the Zoning Board of Appeals as a quasi-judicial board. The crux of our decision is, does this represent a substantial detriment to the town, a substantial detriment? If it doesn't, then you have to vote yes.
I agree with that, and I think and I too would want 50% affordable housing. We're constrained by the laws adopted by the council. That's our legislature in Barnstable. And the applicant is correct. They're only required to provide 13%. I want to step back and thank the applicant, first of all, because I think we've come a long way. I think as initially submitted, they've heard the comments of the public, and they didn't have to. They could have forced a decision. We'd say no, and the town, all of us, would be paying for the lawyers to litigate this in land court. So that's the next logical step here, as Paul said. I think the applicant has done a lot to move this towards what I heard coming from the public. But I think if the interest of the town is in getting more affordable housing, the appropriate audience is the town council. That ordinance needs to be changed. It shouldn't say 13%. Maybe it should say 25 for the next project. But as presented, when this was filed, their obligation was to provide 13%. I mean, and I agree with Paul. I think the market will determine whether or not these are properly priced. If there's a market out there for people paying $5,000 plus for a 3-bedroom, there is. I mean, that's neither here nor there from my perspective. And I agree with Paul, too, that we're constrained, this board is, in multiple ways. One, we need to follow the ordinance. We can't make it up. We're not elected. The elected folks drafted those laws. That's the town council. And they put the requirements in place. The applicant has complied with them. I think the applicant has since gone beyond what it is required to do. Could they do more? I don't know. Are they required to? No. Because at the end of the day, we can sit here and decline this thing. They'll sue us, and we'll all be paying lawyers to litigate it at land court. And frankly, I'm not sure we'd prevail. But thank you, Paul, for your comments, because I think we kind of need to bring this back into the purview of what our obligation is. And there's those prongs, those requirements in the statute that kind of frames this conversation. And it isn't what I would want, but I'm not elected. I wasn't there to adopt the ordinance that put these requirements in place. And from my reading of this and everything I've heard, I think the applicant has complied with these requirements as they exist today. I think we need to we all need to get more engaged with the town council in this case. And if that requirement for affordable housing is to be increased, that's the body that needs to do it. We can't enforce that. And if we tried, they'd sue us. I mean,
Well, it needs to be kept in mind that for all the projects out there, a very small percentage end up here because most of them are as of right, like phase 1. So,
yeah.
I mean, we got a unique opportunity here to have input, which isn't usually available for other projects. So
I agree
we've been able to tailor a better benefit to the town than we would have otherwise, than the people would have otherwise. And I think the applicant's done very, very well. I'm kind of surprised by a few of the things, like the solar. But I'm for approving this.
Mr. Chairman, could I ask that somebody make a motion to close the public hearing?
Yeah.
I'd still like to make one comment if possible.
Well, we haven't closed public comment yet. We have
That's
to do
what I
that
mean.
first.
Yeah.
I think we're good with public comment. So I would move to close public comment.
Second.
Okay.
We need to vote.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Now, the public hearing is still open, so we can still deliberate. Yeah. That part always, like, why is there public comment and public hearing? But it is what it is. So, I mean, to what you said about, 20-25%, the 13, as many pointed out, is what's
Yeah, there's a gap.
required
Yep.
by
And
the
again,
code.
I don't want people to think that I'm not appreciative nor necessarily not in favor of this project. It's just, again, when you ask yourself the criteria number 2, is it more detrimental to the neighborhood? And I don't use the neighborhood as the neighborhood of the sand pit. I use the neighborhood of the town as a whole. And I can't wrap my brain around the fact that if we begin to go backwards with affordability, that's going to be beneficial to anybody. It's very difficult to process that. And I believe as we begin to build these units around town, the 1,000 or so that are permitted or in the pipeline to be built, that number is going to shrink. The affordability number of the town of Barnstable is trying to attain, again, it's a recommendation. I understand it's not a mandate, it's not a law that each community reach that number, but the facts are the facts, and it's just we're going to be going backwards.
No, I have a different view of that. I think we're going forward. We're offering more affordable units. If you didn't build this, you wouldn't have those.
I understand that, but we're also incurring 270.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It's so far out of reach, you're never going to get it anyway.
That's fine. I understand. I agree with you 100%.
And by the way, why 10%?
One project isn't going to make the difference.
I agree.
Why make 10%? Why not go for 50% of workforce housing, whatever that is, by the way? I don't know what workforce housing is. It's not defined by the state. It's not.
And at a certain point, it's government overreach, so.
Right.
But I think they went above and beyond. We have 15.6% potentially, right?
I mean, to go beyond that, the government's got to put up some money. The town's got to put up some money. If you want 25%, the town's responsible for putting up that money, not a developer. They won't build it.
And as the developer said, those affordable units, as they're called, they are subsidized by the people paying market rate. They're not subsidized any other way.
And that costs us a nickel. So,
Right.
so I agree with you. I'd like to read 50%, but the town's got to step up to it and say, okay, if we're going to make the code 25%, the town's got to put up 15% of that.
Right, because the developers aren't charities.
No, they can't.
Believe me, I get it. But again, Cape Cod Healthcare, no offense to Cape Cod Healthcare, but they're record profits every year, and yet they can't, why aren't they, again, they're not paying people enough, in my opinion. They have these vacancies why can't they fill those spots? There are people out there in the field of medical or anywhere else that, again, there's a disconnect here somewhere. I don't know.
Well,
it's a much bigger issue,
not
but.
hiring could probably afford to pay for a market rate unit.
Well, then why doesn't a restaurant who's making money, why don't they pay more?
That's a good question. I don't know the answer. I mean, again, I know it goes around and around. But this is what we're talking about here. We're talking about the ability for people to live on Cape Cod. Is it affordable or is it not?
Well, if it's 90% full and 70% from Cape Cod, it must be beneficial to the Cape.
I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't know. Is it? But is it? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
I go back to
because of the other issues that come along with it, Paul.
I go back to the role that this board plays in this process. We're very constrained in what we can do by laws and ordinances passed by folks who are elected, responsible to the voters, not us. And they've put in place guardrails within which we must stay. And I think the applicant has gone beyond what's required here. And the comment was made, we're negotiating and we can extract more. Or if I was advising them at some point, I would say enough. Let's force them to make a decision and take it up to a judge in land court. And everybody loses at that point. So I think the bigger question that Aaron's getting to, I don't think that falls to us. I agree with you. I agree with you that those numbers seem crazy, but the market is what the market is. If we've heard, the evidence that we've heard is that the project won leased in record time at those numbers. So there's a market. In terms of what's affordable housing, in the percentage that they're required to make available, they're complying with what the legislature says they have to. And at the end of the day, this goes back to that, and thank you, Attorney Ford, for focusing us on this, is would this project represent a, quote, substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected? When I first heard this, I was inclined to vote yes, to say this will be a detriment. But I think we've come a ways beyond what's technically required. That I'm inclined to vote in favor of this because I don't think it represents a substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected, based on everything I've heard.
Well, especially that location.
If I could, just a couple of points here. I appreciate the conversation here. I am personally a big proponent of letting the market speak as far as rents and who is there. I know personally people who are living in similar types of Wilkins-type projects that are off Cape, that work on Cape. They might be in a lease currently, but they may want to come to the Cape. And there's obviously a need in, and I believe in mixed styles of housing. We need that. If we really getting down to the crux, for me personally, the things I am thinking about and moving back to what we're saying here is that for me, it all rides on B. An evaluation of the evidence presented in public hearing fulfills the spirit and intent of the chapter without substantial detriment to the public good. When I'm looking at this, me personally, I'm looking at three things. I am looking, if I were to have my wish list, I would look to propose that that they do negotiate. I believe the project is here. I do believe that they should negotiate the terms of those 8 or plus units or minimal of 8 or whatever, so that we have an eyes wide open view of what is this. If the town, if the three things I'm talking about here are seen by the public and it is out in the open and it is approved, there can be no complaint. It's out there. My second would be that I would respectfully request that CFAC is just taxed with concurring that the $244,000 proposed as a sewer betterment payment is within reason. I would, as a third, I would ask that we are being asked about the spirit and intent of the ordinance. We did not draft this. We did not make the decision at the time. Even going back to phase 1, it really doesn't speak about phase 2. I would appreciate a comment from planning and town council, even if it's brief, to those, to that, the spirit and intent. And if they believe that this is within the spirit and intent, those three things, I would feel confident to be able to answer B in the affirmative, which would push this forward.
Are you suggesting continuing?
I think those things need, for me personally, those are questions, especially the one about working with the housing authority or whatever it happens to be. I mean, those are three things I'm thinking
A
of.
little more guarantee of that myself, but it seems like
Wait. The spirit and an intent piece is actually factual, right? The bylaw, the ordinance goes through the specific requirements, and I think Attorney Ford has given us a table that shows, the floor, I'll just open it here because I was looking at it earlier. Minimum lot area, minimum lot frontage. So the intent of the specific subparts of the what is it, 240-38-1F, I think that's factual. I don't think we need an opinion on that. Again, we have evidence that says that they comply with all of that. I'm sorry, go ahead.
If I could add to that, I think the original intent of that area was not for housing. I think that came upon after. And phase 1, yes, I agree that there was an agreement upon phase 1. I think there was very little information on phase 2. I feel like that was it was an ad at the time. Even when you go back and look at those meetings, if you watch them, that there's not enough information there to really gauge what was there an intent to add housing? I don't know.
This is through site planning review. It went back through the planning board.
I understand that, but I've been to site plan review too, and things change after the fact, whether it's engineering or otherwise. I'm just telling you what I'm thinking on B2, on B, how I get there. I'm not arguing. I'm just saying these are the three things that I am thinking of. Just that we have, we have some type of bulk negotiation done on those additional units. Now, if the town wants more affordable, I believe they should just buy it down. And maybe that gets us to that number. And I understand there might be some challenges in the financing part of it, but maybe it's 20. I don't know. But I think I agree with Paul in that if the town wants affordable, they need to pony up. It's not 100% on the backs of these. These are very expensive projects. And the intricacies of these projects, even on a low level, is mind-boggling for the average person. But those were the three things that I was thinking of that really I feel like answers be, because then we could truly say, yes, we've got the bulk of that done. That is included. There's no question as to what that's going to be. The $244,000, all they have to say is, yes, this is a reasonable amount proposed by the applicant. That answers that question. And we're talking about detriment to the public good, which includes the town. Spirit and intent, I mean, I'm not as big on that one, but I think a quick comment, a lot of those people are still on the boards. They could speak to that and just say, yes, this is what we intended. This is how we see this, unfolding. We think this is a good project. It doesn't change whether or not we say yes or no, but at least it could answer that. And then I feel like we've covered the bases as far as, we've done very well with the public comment. I think that's coming. I think the affordability part of it kind of comes into that negotiation. I don't think it's time not well spent to at least have a bulk of those details in place, or at least a letter confirming that there is a willingness from the housing authority to go that direction.
I agree with you on the number, because there's no point of reference for us to say, is this reasonable or is this not? But I think it is this board's obligation to look at the bylaw, the ordinance, and see whether or not what's being proposed on the spirit and intent part. I think that one,
And I would be willing to concede that.
yeah, but I agree. I agree that while I appreciate the applicant's position that they took the upper number at, what was it, $10 per gallon per day, and that's how they came up with that 244. I don't have any basis to say that is reasonable. It could be 300, it could be 400. As far as I know, it could be anything.
I really don't believe that the number was placed for sewer in that. I think it was omitted, and that's the only reason I'm asking.
But should we poll the board, perhaps? I don't see an overwhelming desire to continue this. Does anybody else?
Well, I don't continue for what?
Well, that's what Mark's been saying.
Well, but that's
He'd like some more answers.
beyond, his question is beyond the requirement. The legal requirement has been met, okay?
I don't know that you can answer that way. I don't think you can. I mean, I could be wrong, but I think there's an outstanding question about what is the actual cost going to be for the sewer. All I want is an affirmative. That's it.
Well, they don't have to.
It's
They
not
don't have to
to
do
cover the
that.
actual cost, but it's a contribution to the development fee? Or
I understand that, but it
development-
speaks to whether it's a detriment to the town. What if the system was 600,000? What if we were in the whole 600,000?
Well, I'm confused. What specific thing are we talking about here?
Sewerage.
What, the annual fee?
No, the
One-time contribution.
the one-time contribution.
That's a voluntary thing, right? That's voluntary. How
We
can
have,
you?
we have nothing to base it against.
But we
except from
can,
what
we
the
can make
applicant is
it
saying.
mandatory. We can ask them to contribute what it's going to cost. I have to pay it. Why shouldn't they?
I'm just
I mean, that's-
asking independently, is it a
Yeah,
reasonable
it's not-
figure? That's all.
But again, I'm with you, Paul. I'm
I
ready
don't
to-
want to kick the can down the road anymore. I think they've gone way outside the boundaries of what they had to do this, and I think I would, while I'm not voting, I would urge the board to take a vote tonight.
I would not.
Say again? What was the question? We're going to vote tonight, right? Yes.
I urge the board to vote tonight, not continue.
Please.
Yes. Public hearing is still open.
That's what I thought. In terms of a continuance,
he's the
I've been informed, Mr. Hanson, that this is your last meeting.
That is correct.
So why are you pushing a continuance to get answers to questions when you're not going to be here? I'm just kind of confused.
I'm not pushing a continuance. I'm asking the board to consider the things that I am considering here. That's all I'm asking.
Could I address those things, if, Mr. Chairman? Would I be?
Oh,
out of-
sure, yeah, that would be very
So,
helpful.
just quickly, if I can help. Spirit and intent. Your concern there was, gee, did they really mean, that is the framers of the ordinance, that there was going to be residential in this area? You couldn't find anything that kind of showed that. So I'd suggest to you that the first prong, which says it's going, a special permit has to be specifically provided for. They went out of their way to say that anything more than 1,000 feet from Kids Hill Road, if you were going to have multifamily, required a special permit. So clearly, they were thinking about multifamily in this area, which is the only area of the site that was rezoned, that's more than 1,000 feet. So just from that, you can conclude, I think factually, on the face of the ordinance, that it's within the spirit of intent. Why? Because it was categorically included. You asked us to show that to you on a map. We did. We showed you where the 1,000 feet is. That language would be meaningless unless it meant that they anticipated somebody might come in for multifamily on that part of the site. So I just offer that to kind of assist you in
Yes, and I appreciate that. And that's, as I was saying before, I'm willing to concede on that part of it.
Okay.
Again, the two things that I was looking for was more just one of the issues that's happened is that we've had some big lifts in the past, and I think where the public gets upset and where the public gets angry is that they feel that the questions weren't asked, that there was no verification of information. And so when I look at this, I just think of those things where I say,
all right, let me try to answer that.
Okay, sure.
And let's go to the last one first, which is the contribution. As Mr. Bernard said, there isn't any way that CFAC can say that's a correct number or it isn't, because there is no requirement for any number. There isn't a requirement currently.
I'm not saying there's a requirement. I'm saying they
That's
could
a
estimate the cost and say, is
We're
that
not
a-
estimating the cost of the sewer. What we're saying is, this is what we've seen in other towns. It's done by gallonage. That's how we based it. We tried to come up with a number, even though there's no requirement in Barnstable, and we know that's just a contribution. So that's a voluntary payment. So you either think that's a good voluntary payment or you don't think it's a good voluntary payment. We thought it was in good faith, where there was no requirement that we make that payment.
I understand.
All right. Then finally, I understand your concern about the additional units. Two comments. First, they're not required in order to meet the bylaw and be entitled to a special permit. There's something that we've offered beyond that because we were asked to go back and look and listen and please come forward to give us things that would help us. So that's one of the things we've offered. As you heard Mr. Tuig say, we feel very confident that we can work out something either under rental assistance, which is a fairly modest number to do those 8 units, or with a purchase. Either way, we feel very confident in that. And we've agreed that we would, as soon as the permit is issued, start that discussion with the trust. That, again, is over and above what the bylaw requires us to do. We're offering to do it. We're going to do it in good faith. And we've told you why we're optimistic we can get to yes, and it's a win-win.
I understand. I thought the language was loose. I just wanted to see something. I mean, we had concern. I don't think that concern has changed. I don't think any detail of that has changed. I believe you to be at your word. I really do.
No,
I like this project.
All right. So what I'm trying to do is help you like it so that you feel comfortable in voting. And you're not comfortable in voting yet. And so what I'm saying is there language in that needs to be tweaked for you to feel more comfortable? I mean, maybe let's have a discussion if there is.
Yeah.
So that you're more comfortable.
I think so. I mean, I liked the idea that it was a minimal of 8. I want to make sure that if there's.
It says up to.
Up to, okay, so it says up to. So what I was saying is there was a
minimum.
suggestion of it being a minimum, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong.
You can say minimum. If you'd rather say minimum than up to, we're agreeable to that. I kind of think it means the same thing, but that's fine.
Yeah, so it's hard to do an in lieu of. I'm open to any suggestion as far as.
I think you're bordering on land court. I think it has nothing to do with what we're required, what is required, and it's nothing to do with our voting within the parameters of which you're given a vote.
The public is screaming for 25% affordable. I'm
They're
trying to
screaming
figure a way
for
to get.
50%, Mark.
I'm just asking if there's a way to get there and still,
So, Mr. Hanson,
I'm just saying, if you
I'm
withhold
not
your
saying
vote,
25%.
if you withhold your vote
I'm not going to withhold. my
based
vote.
upon that, all my statement is, we're going to court. We're going to be taken to court.
I'm well aware of how it works. I've been there. I'm already,
Mr. Hanson,
we've been there.
trying to stay away from the talk about court at the moment.
I
So
understand that.
the reason we said up to,
the reason we
said up to is because if the trust didn't have the funds to do the minimum of 8, they could do 7 or 6 or 5 or 4 or whatever they could afford. That's the only reason we said up to.
Right.
To give the trust the flexibility. That was the genesis behind that.
But it's not a synonym with a minimum, let's be clear. It's actually the opposite. If you say a minimum, you could go up to 15. Up to stops at 8, just to be clear.
Up to stops at 8, and as as Mr. Tuig indicated, if you wanted to change that number to 10,
No, I have to tell you, we're not concerned about, and if we want to change the language to say that we'll negotiate to achieve not less than 10, a minimum of 10 units, and we'll work in good faith in order to achieve that goal, whatever mechanism may be appropriate, which could include rental assistance or some type of buy down, and add those words, absolutely appropriate.
And so help me here. Does it require a buy down from you, or does it require a subsidy to do the units?
Well, those are the two that I believe, Attorney Ford talked to Jillian about as two opportunities that they would look at.
I understand.
But they also said there may be grant money that we may go after, you can do another program, which is why, yes, it's a little bit vague, because they want to come to an agreement, and then they want to spend the time to try to get the money.
I totally understand it.
So
And
we'll make it as broad as, we'll do a rental assistance, we'll do a buy down, we'll do a minimum of 10 units. I think we should put parenthetically, if and to the extent that the trust can't afford that, we'll do the maximum number that they can afford, which I think was where we were trying to get to. Because we don't want them to, if all they say is, listen, we can get a grant, we can do 5 units, we want to do it, I don't want the language to say, and I don't want you to think that we wanted that language in so we could say, you can't do 10. Oh, sorry, no. I don't want that.
I don't. I think my initial gut reaction when I read that or when I heard that part of it was, this feels very open. And I'm sorry if that's how I felt about it, but that was how I was feeling.
Not really binding.
Well, let's
tighten it up.
Yeah, let's tighten up the words and make it a minimum, make it multiple opportunities, and allow them to be able to buy down as many as they can afford
That's
if they
fine.
can't achieve that.
That's fine. That would work.
Is that
for me.
fair?
Okay, we can do that right now.
Yeah, I mean.
That's fine.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I mean,
And I just want to go back to Mark's point about the fee for the sewerage, that again, on the record, we're taking, New England Development's word that that's what it's going to cost, and that if it does cost $500,000 or $600,000, then that's not on us.
But it's not based on a cost.
it's not based on a cost.
Nothing to do with cost.
I understand it's not based on cost, but it could be more or less, potentially, right? We don't know definitively.
Could be zero.
This
Yeah.
is just a system
Voluntary.
development.
it's a system development charge.
It was.
Yeah.
It is zero.
It's not.
This is a contribution.
Right.
It's what?
It's just
It's
a
zero. There
contribution.
is no cost.
It's like a
No,
voluntary
I understand that.
contribution
Yeah,
is the way I see it.
But, yeah, okay, well.
Okay.
And just to further, Mr. Chairman, I mean, we're happy to, certainly if the board's pleasure is to vote, particular words on the condition, I imagine you then have to sign a condition. We'll work with staff consistent with Anna's notes there to get the words that we just talked about on the affordable
Okay,
residence.
then we don't have to,
Well,
Get
just
every
rather than
word
try
right
to,
now.
but I think you want to, as part of the decision, everyone's going to want to read the words and feel comfortable.
Okay. So they're sitting down, so that must mean now we're making some progress.
No, yeah, well, it's good. I feel like it needs to be answered.
How are you
but-
feeling about this?
I feel the same way I've felt the whole time.
And you're not voting, so
Continuous doesn't solve anything.
it solves nothing.
Yeah, let's vote. I'm ready.
I don't want a continuance. So I'm going to close public hearing. All in favor? Oh, I need a second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. So now we can finish our deliberations, if any, and then move on to making findings. Anything else to discuss? I mean, I'd like to applaud the developer for really coming up with more than I was expecting, actually. So, and yeah, we have an affordable housing problem in this town, but it can't be put on the back of one project. And if we want more than 13%, then town council needs to work on that. Maybe there needs to be some incentive for, I don't know. Anyway, who'd like to make findings?
Are we,
Natalie might.
so we're just, are we agreeing, just so I understand, are we agreeing that there is going to be some language as far as like tightening up or working with that language?
Yes.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so you work
They're
with that
gonna
based on
deal-
the conversation that's been had?
I'll have to speak with the applicant and look at
I don't think we can vote conditionally.
I concur.
If you wanted to work on the language now, take a 5-minute recess, we'd be happy to put something together that I think meets what you two have talked about, and you could include it in your motion.
I'd like them to present it rather than us come up with it.
Yeah, later. Do it now, you mean?
Just
Yeah.
give them 5 minutes.
Well, my bladder votes for a 5-minute recess. Oh,
Okay, so,
I said that out loud, did I? Okay. All right.
so
Would you
make
like
it.
us to-
Motion to recess for 5?
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, we'll
Aye, aye,
get something
aye.
up there.
All right.
So if I may, we've got some suggested language
You may.
for your consideration. So we're on number 7, affordable residences. So the first change is fourth line from the bottom where it says up to 8. That would read a minimum of 10.
Yeah.
So it would read to restrict a minimum of 10. So we use your phrase and we get it up to 10.
Can I interrupt?
You certainly may.
But wouldn't that bind the trust? What if
No, wait till I give you the additional language.
Fair enough.
Which is what you wanted, I think.
Fair enough.
So we go down to the end of the line where it says 100% AMI. And here's your language. Provided, however, in the event the trust is unable to provide funding sufficient to restrict 10 units, the parties will agree to a lesser number of units that is feasible. And then I've added on the second line up where it says to the extent the trust and the applicant, and then I've added after applicant, after diligent and good faith efforts, comma, are unable, to put that right in the language of the condition.
Yeah.
What do you think, Mr. Lawyer?
What is that? Explain the feasible part to me. If parties agree to a lesser number, I'll stop.
Okay? The parties will agree to a lesser number
That
of
requires
units.
agreement on both sides.
Lesser number of units, period.
Yeah.
I take the that is feasible out of there. I agree with you, it's vague.
Okay.
Let me cross that out.
Although, just to throw a monkey wrench into all of this, 25% of affordable would be 80. On the offside, I have no idea what the financial condition of the trust. On the off chance that they can actually do, what would the number be? 42 to get us to 80 would be what? 38, 28, 30? Is that even a possibility?
It's been suggested that there's a lender issue.
The
at that
economics
point.
wouldn't work.
The financing would have to be completely restructured.
Understood.
It just wouldn't work.
I thought that'd be your answer. So a minimum of 10, provided that the parties may agree to a lesser number. Yep.
And I took out the feasible.
Now, do we have all these current conditions?
Yep.
The most recent version?
They're all in the presentation.
The presentation?
Presentation was sent to
Okay.
Anna. She
Yeah, I'm
has
getting
it
the
all.
little placeholder.
All except that the last condition, number 8, was not in the staff report.
And it's not in the staff report, but it's in this today,
The
and I sent
presentation.
that to her. She has it.
Gotcha. Understood.
Thank you.
Actually, oh, you voted me to make findings?
Oh, okay.
He just did.
Thanks for volunteering.
Give it to me. Thank you. Thank you, Attorney.
It had
Ford.
nothing to do with this.
Yeah.
Okay, so,
No, I think we need to. So do you want me to make findings?
yes. And he summarizes things pretty well. You have this, right?
Yeah, I
Yes.
have it in front of me. Okay. On special permit number 2025-03, Wilkins Lane Properties LLC. The applicant has applied for a special permit pursuant to section 240-125C, subsections 1 through 3, and special permit provisions, those are the special permit provisions, and sections 240-38.1F, mixed-use subzone of medical services overlay district. The applicant seeks to construct 5 residential apartment buildings containing a total of 320 units, which will be served by a combination of surface parking and detached garages. The proposal also includes one single-story clubhouse/leasing building and residential amenities such as a pool, courtyards, outdoor seating areas, grills, and a dog run area. Subject property is located at 0 Wilkins Lane, Hyannis, as shown on Assessor's Map 296 as parcel 039-001. Special permit findings. Under 24125, C, the board should review the evidence presented by the applicant, staff, and members of the public, and after weighing all evidence, articulate if and how the evidence contributes to each of the following required findings. The application falls within a category specifically accepted in the ordinance for a grant of a special permit. As we've discussed, Section 240-38F provides for the approval of a multifamily dwelling in this zoning district subject to a special permit. After the second prong, the second required finding the board must make is that after an evaluation of all the evidence presented, the proposal fulfills the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and would not represent a substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected. The first part of this is the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance. There are some technical requirements under Section 240-38(1), all of which are met by the proposed project. They relate to minimum lot area, minimum frontage, yard setbacks, building height, maximum floor area ratio, and maximum lot coverage. The evidence presented is that the proposed project would be in compliance with each one of these technical requirements. The second part of that prong, however, is a finding that the board must make that the project would not represent, the proposed project would not represent a substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected. Over the several meetings we've had, there's been a lot of evidence presented. Going to the various benefits provided or presented or to be presented by this project. I'll summarize it at a very high level. This is being built in a former industrial complex. It's going to be adding housing to the area, and let me just find bear with me here. I want to look at my notes. Where'd it go? And as these meetings have progressed, the applicant has agreed to a number of conditions that I think will further augment the benefit to the community and the neighborhood, and including agreeing to the required water connection proposed by the water department, adding a sidewalk connection, presenting a proposal to build a pedestrian connectivity, the installation of solar panels, and we'll get to the conditions in a bit, but it is my finding that based on all of the proposed additions to the original project, that this would not represent a substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected. In fact, I think it would be an improvement. The last requirement under 125C is that a site plan review process be undertaken by the applicant, and the site plan has been reviewed and found approvable with conditions. I think the approval letter was dated April 22, 2025. Those are my findings.
I'll second that. All in favor
Individual?
of the findings?
Aye.
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 All right.
So are we voting? I don't understand what
Yeah,
that.
on the findings.
Okay, but we're not voting on the merit of the thing yet.
Well, if you
Usually we go to roll call, don't we go to roll
Roll
call?
call vote, yeah, I think it's better.
Yeah, we need a roll call, but not, I don't know.
Before findings,
no,
and this is findings.
We're all
He presented
present.
the findings.
Well, we don't vote on the findings, those are his findings. Now we vote on whether or not we agree on the findings, right? Individually.
Mr. Chair.
Okay,
Yes, we should do that.
so,
I'm in favor.
In favor?
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor.
I am not in favor.
Okay.
Right. Anna, sidebar?
I'm confused between this and Zoom. We usually
Four
do
votes
more of a
is all we need?
roll call vote
Okay.
on Zoom.
All right.
Okay,
So Aaron is
on to
not in
the
favor.
conditions.
So, okay, yep,
Aaron is not in favor of the
correct,
findings.
I'm not in favor.
Okay. We have conditions. They're listed with amendments in the staff report dated May 15, which was revised July 1st and again revised August 6th. But there've been some amendments, so I will go through them. Or not. The Attorney Ford, the conditions listed 1 through 5 in the staff report I just referenced were the standard before those you recommended. Are you okay with those? Any objections?
We have no objections to those.
Okay. In addition to the first 5 conditions, the applicant has suggested conditions 1 through 7, which are referenced in the staff report last revised August 6, 2025. And a condition 8, which I will read from your presentation. The applicant will provide a one-time sewer system development contribution in the amount of $244,278. And,
And he also revised the
Yep,
wording
yep,
of number
yep.
7.
yeah, I did that backwards, apologies.
Mr.
And-
Chair, there's been some changes, some updates in the email that I sent you, I forwarded to the board.
Yeah, the presentation he gave today.
Right, there were some changes in that email.
Okay. All right, I will read the conditions specifically then. So condition number 4 has been revised to say the applicant shall install on the south and the languages don't talk. South and west is being revised to read south/southeasterly exposures of all 5 residential buildings' rooftop solar panels. Condition 6, entitled Power Agreement, is being revised to delete the reference to tenant's obligation in the lease form to the extent permitted by law. And again, we will present this in the final version. And lastly, condition number 7 will be revised to read, commencing on fourth line from the bottom, applicant to restrict up to a minimum of 10 additional dwelling units. And 3 lines from the bottom, to the extent the trust and the applicant, after diligent and good faith efforts, are unable to enter into the trust agreement within 6 months of the date upon which this decision becomes final and unappealable, the applicant shall have no further obligations with respect to this condition, provided, however, in the event that the trust is unable to provide funding sufficient to restrict 10 units, the parties will agree to a lesser number of units. Those are the amendments to the condition. Need to vote on.
Those are your conditions.
Those are my conditions.
Jim has a comment?
Sorry about that. Jim Cuthbert, Director of Planning and Development. Just real quick. So you've stated the conditions. If the board wouldn't mind stating that it sounds like you're looking to make a motion to grant. So I move to grant special permit 2025-013 as presented with the conditions as just stated.
Fair enough.
Thank you.
So we should vote on the conditions and then take that vote. Is that what he said?
No, just basically
Say that exact verbatim.
vote to approve the special permit based on the conditions that you
Fair
just
enough.
said.
So based on my conditions, I vote to grant special permit number 2025-013, subject to the conditions as amended. Do I have a second?
I will second that. All in favor, or do you want to?
No roll call.
Oh, roll call. Mark?
In favor.
And Natalie?
In favor.
And Manny?
I'm in favor.
I'm in favor, and
I'm not in favor.
you have your special permit. Yes. All right. It's a good thing we're getting paid by the hour here, huh? Yeah. Yeah. Patrick, are you still interested in presenting, or you've spent all this time, so you might as well, right?
It's going on 11 o'clock. At some point,
Yeah. Whose idea was that?
If the board will have me, I think this one's
Oh,
very
yeah.
straightforward.
Who's on? Who's on this one?
Yes, let's assign members first. Well, I got to read it in first.
Yep.
So hold on.
But, okay.
somebody should look into this. An 11 o'clock meeting is not a public hearing.
Yeah. Okay. So,
Before we begin, though, is the board committed to hearing this thing now, or are we going to?
yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Everybody's in agreement?
Yeah.
Okay. I just don't want to read
He'd
it
be
and then
very
do it again.
disappointed.
What?
Okay. Oh, that was on one of these, wasn't it? Last minute things. Okay. Next, the appeal number 2025-022. 231 Fifth Ave LLC has applied for a special permit pursuant to Section 24091H, developed lot protection, demolition and rebuilding on nonconforming lots. The applicant proposes to demolish and rebuild a single-family residence on a legal pre-existing nonconforming lot. Although the lot consists of 19,540 square feet, a special permit is required because the lot does not contain 10,000 square feet of contiguous upland. The proposed dwelling setbacks, height, lot coverage, and floor area ratio are in compliance with the ordinance. The subject property is located at 231 Fifth Ave, Hyannis, Mass, as shown on Assessor's Map 245 as parcel 040. It's located in the Residence B RB zoning district.
Thank you, and good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals.
Chair, can you
Oh, yeah,
assign
signing members, I never do that. I should write a note on this. Okay, I am going to assign Paul Pinard, because why did you come here for nothing?
That's right.
Aaron, would you?
Be happy to
Okay.
sit. Yep.
Oh, Mark, of course, and Natalie. All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the Zoning Board of Appeals. Apologies for the late hour. Hopefully, this will be relatively quick. As you stated in the introduction, we are dealing with Section 240-91H, which allows demolition on legal pre-existing non-conforming lots, provided certain requirements are met. In most instances, this can be done as of right, but where we lack 10,000 square feet of contiguous upland, a special permit is required. We did submit a memo in advance of tonight's hearing, but just to hit the high points, the lot was created on a plan dated August 1893. The property was rendered legal pre-existing non-conforming by virtue of a zoning amendment in 1970, which rendered one 9.5-foot side yard setback non-conforming. The entire property itself was rendered non-conforming as a result of the zoning change in 1985, which increased the minimum area to 1 acre. So we're here really for two reasons. Only one reason. That is that we lack the 10,000 square foot of upland. As you see on the site plan in your materials, all setbacks now meet the current requirements of the RB district. So the engineer on this project, Matt Eddy, nicely designed the new building so that that non-conforming 9.5-foot side yard setback now conforms at 10.4 square feet. All other conditions regarding height, gross floor area, lot coverage are all met. So we submit that a special permit could be granted because the new structure, which meets all the requirements of 240-91H 3B, are met, and because the new dwelling would be constructed, would be new construction, meet all current building codes, energy codes. It would be aesthetically pleasing, fit within the neighborhood, and not be a substantial detriment to the public good or the neighborhood affected. That's really the sum and substance of my presentation. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
Well, that was worth waiting 4 hours for. Anyone have any questions for the applicant?
I don't think so. So the non-contiguous part, it just was the upland, or what was it?
It's exactly it. It's nearly 10,000 square feet of just wetlands. It's 19,540 square feet in total, only 9,293 square feet of which are upland.
Okay.
Same number of bedrooms.
It's the same number of bedrooms. It was 3. It remains 3. The floor area is being increased, but within the limitation of the ordinance, it's under the 0.3, which is the maximum allowable limit. The proposed gross floor area is 29.9. The proposed lot coverage is 19.9. So I admit that it's at the upper levels of what's allowed under 240-91H, but is below the maximum allowable amounts.
I have no questions.
I got nothing.
And I don't believe there's anyone from the public here,
Can I ask
so we
open
can
public
skip
comment?
that.
Sleep?
You got to open and close it probably, don't you, officially?
Do I have to officially open public comment? Yeah. Okay. I open public comment, and then...
Make a motion to close public comment.
To close public comment. Do I hear a second?
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
We'll get close.
That was the close. We don't have to vote to open, do we?
Got to close the public hearing.
I'm going to close the
Yeah.
public hearing because we have this nice little list thing.
Make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Deliberation, I think we're done with that. What do you think,
Yep.
Paul?
No, I'll read if you want me to. Findings.
Mark, do you want to do one last one, or you want to let Paul?
Oh,
I think I do one last.
oh,
Nice.
if you're quick.
You.
He's quick.
Mark's like, this is it, I quit after tonight.
With regard to special permit number 2025-022, 231 Fifth Ave LLC, section 24091H3, develop lot protection, demolition, and rebuilding on non-conforming lots. Going way down. For all special permits, the board is required to make general findings pursuant to 24125C. Board should review the evidence presented by the applicant, staff, and members of the public, and after weighing such evidence, is encouraged to articulate if and how the evidence contributes to each of the required findings. That number one, the application falls within a category specifically accepted in the ordinance, a grant of special permit. Section 24091H3 allows for the demolition and rebuilding of a residence on a non-conforming lot. Number two, the site plan review is not required for single-family residential dwellings. Number three, after an evaluation of all the evidence presented, proposal fulfills the spirit and intent of the zoning ordinance and would not represent a substantial detriment to the public good or to the neighborhood affected. Further, section 24091H3 requires the board to find that if the proposed demolition and rebuilding cannot satisfy the criteria established is H1 as of right, then the board may allow the demolition and rebuilding by special permit provided the board finds that number four, the proposed yard setback must be equal to or greater than the yard setbacks of the existing building. Currently, all proposed setbacks will conform to the ordinance. Number five, the proposed lot coverage shall not exceed 20% or the existing lot coverage, whichever is greater. The proposed lot coverage is 19.9%, which does not exceed the threshold. Number six, that the floor area ratio shall not exceed 0.3 or 30%. The existing floor area ratio of the structure being demolished, whichever is greater. The existing FAR is 15.1%, and the proposed FAR is 29.9%, which does not exceed the threshold. Number seven, that the building height in feet shall not exceed 30 feet to the highest plate and shall contain no more than 2.5 stories. The proposed height for the proposed dwelling is 28.5 feet. The board is also asked to find that the proposed new dwelling would not be substantially more detrimental to the neighborhood than the existing dwelling. We find that it's maintaining the same amount of bedrooms and that the increase in square footage would be non-detrimental. Those are my findings.
I'd like to also add that this is consistent with what the evolution of the neighborhood, both on that street and the whole area, with respect to demolition and rebuilding of properties.
Findings added as proposed.
I will second your findings. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And then we have conditions based on staff memorandum dated July 24th, 2025 of, sorry. Suggested conditions number 1 through 6.
At the risk of irritating everyone, I would just ask the board to reconsider condition number 3, just briefly. The intent of condition number 3 is essentially to prevent further build-out of the lot or further modification of the dwelling, because condition number 3 says the lot coverage shall not exceed 19.9, where the maximum is 20%, and the floor area ratio shall not exceed 29.9, where the maximum is 30%. Those percentages are taken from the upland, the amount of upland with respect to the lot. And since the lot is the majority of which is wetlands, I'm concerned that the wetlands could continue to grow, which would then shrink the amount of upland, causing an unintentional violation of a special permit condition. I submit that conditions number 2 and 4 provide an equal protection for you to satisfy the purpose. Condition 2 requires the site development be constructed in substantial conformance with the site plan, which is in your materials. And condition 4 requires that the proposed redevelopment shall represent full build-out of the lot. Further expansion of the dwelling or construction of accessory structures is prohibited without prior approval from the board. So essentially what conditions 2 and 4 will do is freeze the level of redevelopment on this lot. And if the board thought in its wisdom to strike condition number 3, we would eliminate a situation where the wetlands have grown over a period of years, the lot coverage and the floor area ratios are disturbed because the amount of upland has been reduced since the wetlands have grown, and might create an unintended consequence as a result of condition 3. I think your points in condition 2 and 4 are well taken, and we have no objection to 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, I guess I would just ask you to reconsider condition number 3 based on those concerns just stated.
What do you think, Adam? Be a good question for Jim.
Just put a clause immediately following the proposed construction.
Yeah, this-
Completed herein, then you keep it. Because your concern is down the line.
You're considering transfer, right, or whatever?
Well, potentially. If the wetlands grow and there's a site plan done or something that
But I
shows.
think I'm not even voting on this, so I don't know why I'm speaking, but the intent of 3 is to just say, once this proposed project is completed.
Yes.
You will not, right? You will not trigger those limits.
Or you
Correct.
could say, just the total lot coverage, instead of shall,
Demolition and rebuild contemplated herein.
yeah.
Immediately following, something like that, right?
Then instead of
That
shall
would-
not exceed, you'll just say is 19 point.
You're not going to be able to expand it anyway.
We can't because of 2 and 4. You
think
can't
just
expand
scratch
it,
number 3.
which is, my point is that
I just think just scratch number 3.
I think
But
that's,
doesn't, oh, you're saying because you're leaning on number 2.
2 and 4, because 2 requires that be constructed in conformance with the plan, which sets forth the lot coverage and gross floor area.
So it has it
On the table,
on the
correct.
plan, on the corner.
Plus, it's already
Yes.
in the findings.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
Yes, it
Yep.
does.
Anybody have an issue with that?
delete number 3.
Okay, so we would propose that the suggested conditions be number 1, 2, 4, and 5, deleting number 3.
Also, number 6 we'll keep.
Oh, sorry, and 6, sorry.
Thank you.
Yes, and 6.
He was just testing you.
Last page.
Second.
Aye.
I'm in favor.
Did somebody move to, okay, so we got a second.
Roll call?
I'm in
Roll call.
favor.
Mark?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Natalie?
Not in favor.
Paul?
In favor?
Aaron?
I'm in favor.
And I'm in favor. It was well, that
Thank you
was
very
worth
much.
waiting for.
And look at that, we're done before 11 PM.
I wonder if, it is.
Thank you so
I
much.
wonder if the client's at home, like, waiting for this decision, or has he been asleep since 8 o'clock?
They should be watching on Channel
Very
18,
good.
actually.
Hello,
Yes.
Okay, let's go. Get
Thank
to
you very
it.
much.
Let's go.
thanks for your patience.
Thank you, Mr. Hanson.
Thanks,
Oh,
Ben.
I appreciate it, and if I could take the 1 minute,
Wait, where are you going? Where are you going?
Let's go.
We have
just wanted,
got
oh, go ahead.
correspondence. You
Oh,
wanna do the
correspondence, yeah.
correspondence first?
the mic.
Yep,
Give Mark the mic.
Oh, yeah.
let's get rid of business first. Okay, so, correspondence, we have sub-regional, regional policy plan subcommittee hearing notice for July 30th, Cape Cod and Islands Association of Realtors Building at 1 PM. Sub-regional, regional policy plan subcommittee hearing notice 7:30, Falmouth Public Library at 5 PM. Sub-regional, regional policy plan subcommittee hearing notice for 7:31. Hybrid hearing at 10 AM. Sub-regional, regional policy plan subcommittee hearing notice for 7:31, Eastham Public Library, but these are all passed. Okay, so Cape Cod Commission hearing notice for 8/14/25, Barlow's Landing Monopole, continued hearing at 3 PM. Cape Cod Commission hearing notice for 8/14/25, Eastham DCPC amendments at 3 PM. Cape Cod Commission Subcommittee meeting agenda for the Barlow's Landing Monopole for 8/7 at 10 AM. Cape Cod Commission meeting 8/14/25 at 3 PM, hybrid format, Barnstable County Complex, Mary Pat Flynn Conference Room, 3195 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass. 02630, and online. Executive Committee meeting 8/14/25 at 2 PM, in-person, Cape Cod Commission, Ocean Room, 3225 Main Street, Barnstable, Mass. 02632. There are no matters reasonably anticipated by the chair. Upcoming meetings, hearings, August 27th, 2025, remote. September 10th, 2025, in person, and September 24th, 2025, remote. And then, before we adjourn, Mark would like to say something.
Just want to take the last minute, just to publicly thank my co-board members, both past and present, for just all their work, and it was a pleasure working with all of you during that. And I'd like to thank staff, past and present. They're so important to what we do on a daily basis. And it's my hope that as my last day, that although not all my decisions have been popular, that I can look back and people can look back and believe that I was a good steward of the board.
You've been
And,
really positive force.
you know,
Yeah.
and that we tried that. And I wish the board, I wish the board the best of luck moving forward, and encourage people to come out and participate publicly.
I'm sure you're going to be an asset to the town of Sandwich in some way.
I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you, Mark.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.